What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 28 of Procedurally Generated, the podcast about the random history of video games. It's October 17th, 2021. October 17th. We're halfway through the month of October. I'm here with John.
Hi. I think we skipped half the month of October.
I know. That's
what happened here.
Part of the reason why it feels so late is we may or may not have had a show last week. Last time I did this, I swear. Well, actually, it would have been October's. I don't know.
This is the show that we had last week.
Yes.
So really,
ready to go. With just Anyways, Courtney's here as well.
Hi.
Hello. Courtney.
Yes.
You had yourself a little bicycle race. Why don't you tell us how the bicycle race went?
Well, I don't know why I did this today. This was a terrible idea. It was just a terrible idea. I had a really good mountain bike ride up at Cuyuna yesterday. Felt really good when I was done. Like, I'm going to call it a Cuyuna high. And I was talking with a friend of mine, and he said, I raced cyclocross today, and he hasn't done that for years. And I thought, wow, that's weird. And he kind of nudged me, talked me into, you should show up today, and you should race today. And I thought, I've kind of been saying all season long that I would like to get back into cyclocross racing. I feel kind of good, like to try it. So yeah, let's do it. I felt really great at Cuyuna. I can totally do cyclocross tomorrow. Well, I get there and I realize cyclocross is a lot of work. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that.
If it's anything like motocross, but with bicycles, that just sounds tiring.
Generating your own speed. You showed pictures, and you said bike race, and the first thing I thought of, because there's a lot of these around here. I always drive by when I drive into the cities. I see these flatland bike races. They're on the highway. There's cones and stuff. It's just a straight shot. This isn't that kind of race.
That's not that. Yeah, no. That's a different kind of race.
Yeah.
The cyclocross races are generally in grass or in dirt, and someone goes out and draws a course in tape, basically. So you've got this kind of tape alley that you're riding in, and they make hairpin turns. They put out barriers in the middle of the course, so you have to dismount your bike. You have to remount and keep on pedaling.
Wow.
They put in ridiculous hills that maybe some people can actually ride up, but most of the people are going to toss their bike up on their shoulder and hike a bike up the hill.
You made it sound like they build hills. They don't build.
Bike.
They just guide it up a steep hill that already exists.
They guide
right?
it. They maneuver the course
Okay.
so it includes ridiculous hills and sometimes sand pits. Or today they put a sand pit on an uphill before a much further steeper uphill.
That's psychotic.
It's psychotic. And the course today, I've ridden this course before. I've done this course several times years ago, and I knew as soon as you start at your start line, there's going to be an enormous hill right away. You're going to have to do this hill a couple more times because you'll do several laps. I knew that hill was going to be there. I was also anticipating a stair climb, and I was anticipating they will build a big wooden structure flyover that you sharp incline, you ride your bike up, and they're actually kind of fun. Or this big wooden berm that they have out there. But I get there, there's no stairs, there's no berm or flyover. The giant hill is still there at the start line. But then on the other side of the course, they have added a far worse looking hill. And both
Again, the
of them are
concept of
uphills.
Adding hills is throwing me off.
Well,
but okay. They just directed it in a different way.
They directed it in a far different route than they normally do. So I sat in the grass.
They got into their land creator and started lifting the soil.
Yeah. Yep. Somebody very evil looked
style.
at the land and was like, how can I make this course more painful for people?
Took a big disembodied hand and pulled the grass up.
Yeah.
And then pushed it down in other areas, and they made a hellish hill.
I feel like that's exactly what happened.
Sprinkle some sand in there.
Yeah.
So how long of a race is this? How long are you biking? How long does it take you to complete how many laps?
So the laps are weird. It's not like a set number of laps that you know when you start. The laps are completely based. It's a 30-minute or 45-minute race, and it's however many laps you can finish in that amount of time, but it's based on the leader. So if the leader in your category is flying through stuff, you've got more laps to do. If everybody's just kind of chilling out, you'll have less laps to do.
So time is called. You've done 4 laps. Leader's done 7 laps. You've got to do 7 before the race is done.
There will never be that big of a discrepancy. Because at some point, like with so many minutes left, when the leader passes through to do their last lap, then they put everybody on their last lap.
Oh,
so you've got one more lap to go when you're done.
I see.
Yeah.
Fun? I mean, horribly, I'm sure.
This is the thing with cyclocross. Yes, fun. Yes, for some stupid reason, I think I want to go do more races this season.
Yeah.
But it's pain and suffering like you cannot imagine. It's so hard. Like I got to a point on I only did 2 laps, and then I sat at the finish line and waited for the leader to come through, so I didn't get a did not finish. I sat there talking with the race directors and chatting with them, like just hanging out. You're in a pain cave. I couldn't breathe. My lungs were burning. My throat was burning. I'm going to have a biker cough during this podcast, so I'm going to try really hard to mute myself before it happens. But it's going to happen. Everything in my throat and in my chest feels absolutely raw right now.
Oof.
And you wanted to speak on a podcast afterwards?
Well, yeah.
I guess that is the job.
That's how we get through the pain.
That's how we get through the pain.
Can't remember if you mentioned this or not, but like, are you getting up close and personal, like with other racers? Like, are you bumping into each other? Like, how much of a like head-to-head race can it be at times?
I'm thinking road rash. Like you got baseball bats and chains,
and you're just whipping people.
I mean, you can toss some elbows. It's not nice. It seemed like a very small field today. I think there's a big race going on in Iowa that a lot of people went down for. And I think just generally not having, like, they didn't really have a season last year. And I think maybe that has impacted participation this year. It was a much smaller race at this venue than I'm used to. Normally, like, you show up and there's like all the different bike clubs have tents out in the parking lot. It's like a big party. There's lots and lots of spectators, people who have like nothing to do that day, just come out for fun and hang out. There'll be someone selling food. Like it ends up being like this big thing. And it was not a big thing today.
Sounds like a location to maybe record a podcast in the future, huh?
There you go. Yeah.
Record the podcast and then cheer Courtney on to victory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there beer?
Or record after.
There is beer.
Like directly
there is beer. Okay. Yes, done.
There's definitely beer.
All right. We're in.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like a much more productive than my Sunday, where I sat in this chair with football on this monitor, my FanDuel on this monitor, and ESPN on that monitor.
Wow.
I did finish a TikTok, so it wasn't a complete unproductive day, but listen, I had some money sitting in FanDuel, and I was like, let's give it a shot. And I've doubled my money in 2 weeks, which is not a lot of money. Don't
$2 to $4.
Basically, that's about it.
You don't have to talk about the total amount. You doubled your money.
Yeah,
I did. It's I'm hitting my fantasy NFL fantasy football stride here.
It's good practice. Like, you don't have to spend a lot of money to practice this stuff, right? Like,
exactly.
It's all knowledge that you're building.
Absolutely. I was in a couple of tournaments that only gives 5 cents to get in.
Those are they're the best ones.
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my Sunday. John, what did you do on this year's Sunday?
I slept until like 11:30. And then woke up to an email that directed me to correct something with an article that I wrote yesterday. So I did that. And then I played some Dying Light for like 2 hours. So Dying Light, if you're not familiar, is an open world parkour zombie game from Techland. I don't know if we've covered Techland on the podcast yet.
They have not come up yet.
They've done Dead Island 1, not Dead Island 2, because I don't know if that game actually exists at this point.
I think it's a trailer.
Yeah, it's a trailer. But there's a new Dying Light coming out pretty soon. Can't remember if it's December or early next year. Anyways, I got the urge to play some of that, and I was playing it on Xbox, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. I like that there's an FPS boost because normally it's 30 FPS on consoles, so they bumped it to 60. But the resolution is kind of low, so I'm like, I think I have this on PC. I'm gonna play it there. And so jumped on there, and I just started going. That game's really good. I think people forgot how good Dying Light actually is. Like the traversal around the city is great, because all it is, I mean, you're parkouring away from zombies most of the time, and the mechanics for like gripping on edges and pulling yourself up or walking across like very small platforms works really well. And like even like balancing acts that you don't think that you're going to be able to do, you can. It's like you can balance on the top of like a chain link fence, and like you can tell that your character's like almost gonna fall, or like there's like some sense of like your character's trying to balance. It just has a cool feeling to it. But there's this day and night mechanic with the game where like zombies are pretty docile during the day, and you can do a lot of your exploration and looting of stuff while the sun's out. But when the sun goes down, all of the powerful zombies come out, and all of the other zombies get like super strength. And so the whole goal at night is to just survive and like get to a safe house, get to places where there's UV lights or like black lights everywhere, which hurt the zombies, which is why they're docile during the day, because the sun gives off a bunch of UV light. But I haven't played too much past like the opening hours of it so far. It's been 6-7 years since I've touched that game. I played it originally on PS4, but
okay. I was just gonna ask if this was your first experience with it, but you're just kind of revisiting, getting ready for Dying Light 2.
Yeah, but I might end up playing a lot more of this. I never finished it the first time around. I put like 15 hours or something into it. There's a loop of like you get your mission at your HQ, and you can choose to go out like during the night or during the day. And if you go out during the night, you get like more experience bonuses, and everything that you do gives you experience to like a specific perk tree. So like if you're running a lot, you have like an agility tree. If you're attacking zombies or doing things that require strength, you have a strength tree. And a survivability tree, which will be like crafting stuff. Like all of your weapons and your healing items and other medicines and stuff are crafted. So like there's a durability system with all the weapons, so those can break, but you can fix them pretty easily. So everything's kind of like scrapped together. I don't know if have you played this, Chris, at all ever?
I was going to actually play it a couple of months ago. I had an interest in it, and with the cementing of Dying Light 2 actually coming out, because that was stuck in development hell for a long time.
Sure was.
I kind of became more interested in it, but I did not. I kind of fell off of Dead Island pretty quick. I fell off of. I was never like it. To me, that game seems like a good cross between Dead Island and like a Mirror's Edge. Maybe bringing in too much of the parkour stuff to it, but I watched some gameplay of it, and I just decided it's not something that I think I wanted to commit to. So I may have tried it a long time ago, but
sure,
the idea of revisiting it wasn't something for me.
Got it. Courtney, have you played a Dead Island or a Dying Light?
I have not, but listening to you talk about Dying Light, I am interested.
Yeah, it's also multiplayer, so you can get
I was going to ask you
and do like survival runs and stuff, or you can play as like the zombies and kill other people. they've been doing a lot of stuff with this game for years now. Different expansions. I don't know exactly what those expansions are. There's one that's like all like dune buggy based, and you can upgrade your dune buggy with like different weapons and armor. Dying Light's really cool.
Yeah, I was just trying to see if
seems like I need to check that out.
Yeah, I think you should.
I'm gonna just quick check and see if I can find the.
So do you when you're talking about surviving through the night, are you playing all through the night, or are you playing until you find like a safe spot and then you get to like sleep or whatever and fast forward?
So yeah, you can. I think it's either or. So it didn't really have like a day and night cycle that I could tell when I was playing today, but like during missions, like during like each section of a mission, I could tell that it was getting like darker outside, and then at some point during the mission it's like, all right, it's gonna be night now, so we need to get the F out of here real quick and get to someplace safe. But also it's all like the tutorial stuff, so it's like the first time that it was gonna be specifically dark while you're out, and like it's teaching you to get out of Dodge and get home.
And if you want to revisit that game, but you want to play Dying Light 2 on the day it comes out on February 4th.
There you go.
Of 2022. So it's just a couple months out.
And there is a new gen console update coming out. They haven't said what date it is. So if you have Dying Light on PlayStation 4 or Xbox One, and you have a PS5 or a Series X or Series S, there is an update coming out for those consoles. Currently, the only next gen update that's out right now is there was an FPS boost for Series X and Series S. Maybe it's only Series X actually for that one.
Okay.
I would suggest people check out Dying Light. That's kind of going to be my spooky game for this year, I think. I'm not usually into playing a bunch of horror games during October, but this might be it. This might be the one.
Very nice. So you played that. Anything else that you've been up to? Now we've technically been 2 weeks away. What?
Yeah. So when we decided that we weren't going to record this past week because 2/3 of our group were sick at the same time, I somehow recorded a bunch of podcasts. For Game Informer. So
I see how this works.
Yeah, right. One of those days I was pretty much only conscious while I was recording. Which is really rough. I don't know what was going on that day, but like I woke up, had coffee, and I was super lightheaded, took a nap for a bit, got up to record. I was getting messages from Alex Stadnick. He's like, "You good? You good to go?" I'm like, I'll be fine. Like, well, let's do this. I didn't want to bail on them like right before the recording because it was both Alex's, me, and then Khalif Adams from Spawn on Me, who's an awesome dude. That was the first time I got to meet him. But very cool to talk with him for a while. But I was perfectly fine for like 2 hours during that recording, and then directly afterwards, I had to go lay down and like slept for another 3 hours. So that was a rough Wednesday. But I recorded that, and then I recorded that was the Game Informer show. And then I recorded the All Things Nintendo podcast, which is a new podcast from Brian Shea through Game Informer. And it's just a weekly Nintendo-focused podcast. So on both of those podcasts, I talked a bunch about the Pokemon Diamond and Pearl preview that I witnessed. Didn't get to play any of it, but I won't talk about it here because I talked about it 3 times this week. For
if you want to hear John's thoughts,
there's there's a 5-minute video. There's the GI show. There's All Things Nintendo, and then there's Pokemon YouTubers who took those video or took the 5-minute video and did like huge breakdowns. So it's really weird seeing people just like watching me talk about stuff and then like breaking down stuff. Also, it's like the worst video I've ever recorded because I had to fit a 30-minute presentation's worth of information into 5 minutes due to our footage embargo.
Oh,
And I kept on. I felt so bad. Like the whole time, I'm just saying every sentence, and people are like commenting about it. I'm like, no, I understand that I'm doing that. I was kind of rushed. We only had 5 minutes, and yeah, it's something I need to be more conscious of. I'm gonna say a lot during this too, but it's just my verbal tics. But yeah, that's it. I reviewed Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. It's a video game that's like Smash Brothers. It's good but empty inside. So
cool. All right.
Like wow,
that sounded like the worst best thing you could have said about it.
I don't know. I mean, yeah. the fighting's fun. There's nothing for like casual people. Okay. if you want to play like a Smash Brothers like game, there's no items. There's it's really just characters and stages.
Gotcha. Okay.
And no license to music or audio, and some of that stuff is just kind of flat. But okay. the core is there. I hope it gets support from the developers and from, more importantly, Nickelodeon, who could throw money at it to
for sure
to get the things that game needs to succeed in the long run. And I have a Switch OLED as well. It's I've been playing a lot of things on the Switch OLED. Like I started Metroid Dread, which is a Metroid game. I haven't really played too much of it. I haven't really gotten hooked on it yet. What else?
Are you an Animal Crossing person, John?
Sometimes. I've played, according to my Switch, I've played 15 hours of the newest Animal Crossing. Compared to my wife's 750 hours.
Oh my god.
Wow.
Yeah, so we are an Animal Crossing household, but I am on the lower end of that one.
I feel like Animal Crossing was everywhere in my Twitter feed at the end of the week.
Yeah, they announced a bunch of updates for that game that come out on November 5th, which is like, let's see, there's they're adding a bunch of crafting stuff. They're adding food crafting. They're adding a bunch of new like furniture and house styles and stuff. But they're also bringing out like a paid expansion that is basically Happy Home Designer, which is a 3DS game where you were just like tasked with creating perfect houses for different Animal Crossing residents. So they would have specific things that they would want in the house. Like, oh, I want this stuffed animal. I want this chair. And I want like this rug. But then you could build out the rest of the house any way that you wanted. So now they're doing it with vacation homes on like an archipelago. So you have like a whole series of islands that you get to work with and take those tasks and build people's perfect vacation homes, which I think is a cool idea to bring that into the base game.
Yeah.
But that expansion is then a part of this new Switch Online expansion pack service, which is a more expensive version of what Switch Online currently is, which currently gives you online access for like multiplayer games, access to a select amount of NES games and Super Nintendo games, but they're adding N64 games and Sega Genesis games this month, I believe. But also the that Happy Home Paradise, I think is what it's called, expansion pack that's typically runs $25 is going to be part of this subscription package. So anybody who has Nintendo Switch Online plus expansion pack, wow, that's a mouthful. We'll have access to this, which I think is a neat precedent, especially with like Nintendo's been making a lot of expansion packs for all of their games for the last couple of years. So like Smash Brothers has had character expansion packs. The last two, I guess two, but like it's really one game. The last Pokemon game had 2 expansions. And I feel like they could start just shoveling all of those into that subscription pack. Since this Animal Crossing one is in there. So like next year we have a new Zelda game. We have Splatoon 3 that's coming out. We have that Kirby game. There's a bunch and a Pokemon game in January. Like there's a bunch of different expansions that they could shove into that to make this subscription worth it. Currently they're raising the price from $20 a year to $50 for this. So like it's a big jump. But it's still less than like PlayStation 5 or Xbox Live Gold. Like
do you consider those services? Do you consider those services comparable though to this? I have a hard time comparing those three services. I compare like PlayStation Plus and Xbox Live to one another.
I mean, they're all BS services now, right? Like the only one that's actually a real service is Game Pass, because you're getting like a huge collection of games, and I mean, with the Nintendo Switch stuff, you are also getting a collection of games, but it's also cheaper than what you're getting with the Xbox stuff.
Yeah, what's the yearly cost for the Xbox?
I mean, it's $15 a month if you're doing Gold and Game Pass. So
yeah, I suppose that's right. So
you're looking at
what,
like 160 or something a year?
180.
Somewhere around there. Yeah. Oh yeah. You're right. 180.
Okay.
But I mean, so if you get the reason why I'm still like supportive of this upgraded price for the Nintendo Switch stuff, if you do the family plan, it's like $80 a year, but you can have 5 people on it. Doesn't matter if they're in your family or if they're like using they don't have to use the same Switch or anything. You just have to register their Nintendo account to your family. So you can break that up between 5 people, $80.
You can choose your family.
Yeah, you can choose your family. That's it. That's what I do. Like I have my wife on my plan, my friend Matt. I'm gonna have my brother-in-law on there. I think my dad's on there. So yeah, and they'll all be able to get all those games and expansion stuff if that stuff starts coming out more to that expansion pack.
Yeah. I guess I do want to see. I wish I could see some more. This has been a problem I've always had with it, and I hope that I don't think it'll ever get rectified. I think we'll just have to deal with it as it is. But with NES and SNES, I think when they first announced that, the expectation was that new games would be added on a more regular basis than they have been.
Sure.
With the N64 and Genesis offerings, I mean, the N64 offerings are bangers for that console, but
yeah,
admittedly, I think that's a pretty weak console overall. Like, there's really not a lot else. I think that there's like Paper Mario is one that I thought I saw on a list that was going to be added, and that might have been enough to move the needle for me because I'd never played Paper Mario, and I was like, finally, I have a chance to do this. But it wasn't on the actual list now. So
it is coming. It is coming.
I hope so. There
are games that they've announced that are coming at a later date.
They are, okay.
Yeah. Like Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie. Like they're getting Microsoft stuff in there. Okay. Which I think is nuts. Like put Diddy Kong Racing in there. Hell yeah, I'm in. And from what I've heard, like licensing is also an issue with the price.
Sure. Anytime you deal with this old stuff, it's
not necessarily the N64 stuff though. It's someone was saying on Twitter that it's probably the Sega stuff. Because Sega felt like they were screwed over with the Wii and the virtual console games that they provided and were selling on there. They did not recoup as much money as they thought that they should.
Okay. So from from a sales perspective, like they thought that more sales should have came through, or from a percentage perspective that Nintendo was taking too much of each sale.
I think it was the sales perspective.
Okay, they just thought it would.
So like
be better.
Them providing games again would be a risk to them for not making a return on their. I mean, their investment's already been made with those games, but with their licensing investment, their reputation. It works different in Japan. Everything there's not just a money cost, but there's a reputation cost as well.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I think it's significant enough that the Sega collection is coming to the Nintendo system.
Oh, totally. And like, I mean, they have
the
controllers place. And stuff like,
right.
That's neat.
So they're finally playing nice.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, they're always
that's
playing
true.
Nice.
I'll always think of the marketing. Sega does what Nintendo don't.
Yeah.
That's
and now
those are my prime years.
Yeah. Now Sega doesn't make games, but Nintendo does.
It all comes full circle, kind of.
They only make Yakuzas now.
That's right.
And I'm sorry, and Personas.
Anything else that you've been playing?
No, I don't think so. I played a little bit of Hearthstone Mercenaries, which is weird and not at all a card game. It's an RPG. I don't know. I'm not going to get into it right now. But go. I mean, it's a free thing. It's in Hearthstone. It's actually like an RPG, like a roguelike-ish, Slay the Spire-ish RPG.
Oh, wait,
where you get.
Continue.
Right, maybe
please.
I will get into this, I guess. You get different Warcraft heroes and a Diablo. But they act as cards. Like you have like a party of cards, but you put them on the battlefield like you would in Hearthstone. But that's like the end of the comparisons. Each character has like up to 3 spells that they can have, or attacks or whatever. There's like gear that you can put on them. I haven't gotten to that point yet, but they like level up. They have strengths and weaknesses. There's 3 different classes. There's like a rock, paper, scissors system of like what's weak against specific types of cards, or like what's strong against other cards or characters, I guess. Whatever. They're not cards. It's weird. It's a weird system. I don't know. I don't know what to say about it yet. Go take a look.
If it's a Slay the Spire, I'll check it out. We'll see.
Kind of. It's
Courtney. Sorry.
Oh no, I'm just saying that it's strange that they've gone from like collectible card game to auto battler, like auto chess, to like a pared down RPG. Everything's kind of a pared down RPG now. There was like the Yoko Taro game that they showed off at the Nintendo Direct a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, dungeon encounters.
No, not that. Not that.
Okay.
There's something that's like also with like tarot cards, and everything is played through like these tarot cards. It's very like minimalist, but also dungeon encounters, which is you going through like a grid map and like fighting. Anyways, like everything is just let's bring everything down to like the base numbers of an RPG. And
sometimes I feel like we need to start a second show.
Peel away the other stuff.
There's a lot to talk about with games.
I guess.
A lot.
Courtney, what have you been playing?
Well, my game time this week has been almost entirely focused on New World.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't stop, won't stop.
Good. I'm glad one of us gets to play it right now.
Yeah, you are not the first person to tell me that you are literally incapable of stopping that game. Like it's got a hold on people.
It's got a hold on me.
Yeah.
It's been delightful. I did my first war. I switched factions this week.
Wait, what are you now?
For the light. Or is it by the light? I don't even know.
I don't know. It's the red ones. You're the red. Are you yellow?
They're typically called yellow, but I really think in my heart that they are orange. Sure. That's what I think. They're like chat is much more orange than yellow.
Faction, right? Like they're the paladins.
Yes. Yeah.
You changed from Syndicate.
I did.
All right.
Syndicate people on my server they were jerks. I did a war with them, and they were all screaming at each other. There's one guy that's one of the leaders who's just really spastic and high strung, and it's just horrible to listen to. I don't know how anybody can concentrate on what they're doing when he's yelling.
Do you have to? I mean, do you have to like key in and listen to that? Like, I don't play games with voice chat on.
The wars are a very cooperative process. Like
it's 50 versus 50.
That sounds miserable.
It's 50 people. There's strategy that's supposed to be happening. There should be like little mmini teams like going out and doing their particular parts. There's some coordination that you have to be able to talk to each other. And normally it's like there's like a leader for each group that might have the ability to talk to everybody, and then everybody else is muted because they should just be following orders. It gets weird.
Yeah, you definitely want somebody thinking about the whole picture and like yelling out commands, but not in that way. If he's just going to be
not in a frenzy, like, oh my god, what are you guys doing? We got to do this. We got to do this. No, wait, we got to do this. We got to do this. It's just terrible. Yeah. It's awful.
I think like when I played Call of Duty, like multiplayer, and you'd sometimes get matched with people. They'd be like, all right, guys, we can't just keep running in there. We can't just and I just like tune them out immediately. Like, listen, I'm going to keep running.
I'm just going to keep running in.
Because this is what I'm doing. Like, I can't imagine now taking that and just
times 50.
Expounding on it. Just no, thank you.
Nothing gives people more of a power trip than leading a group of people in an MMO.
Oh, yeah.
No, nothing in the world is worse.
That sounds
it's horrible.
Just awful.
It's definitely not my favorite part of the game, dealing with that. Which is sad because like the war concept I think is really fun, and I would like for it to be really fun. But when you're dealing with monsters, it's just
I understand why you switched. Yeah.
But then I did also try Back 4 Blood. We played that a little bit. I took a teeny tiny break from New World and did some Back 4 Blood.
Thoughts?
And it was
to me that seems like a Courtney-ass Courtney.
Yeah,
game.
That is a Courtney-ass game.
Yeah. It was. I really enjoyed it.
Who's the rest of your crew?
So last night it was myself and Shadowmits, Ao, and Skadoo.
Nice. It's a classic cryophilic group.
Oh no.
Oh no? No?
Not cryo.
No? All right. No. Like I remember those names from other places.
We're a good game society group.
Oh, excuse me. Yes. Yes. It's a good game society group. I'm sorry. It's
all good.
That's my bad. I'm not editing.
It's all good. We played the demo a little bit, and we only did like maybe 3 rounds last night, but it was still a lot of fun. Just like shooting everything, bashing everything with a baseball bat.
Yeah.
Good times.
Did you get to play with the card stuff much?
I did more in doing the beta last night because we didn't get super far into it. It's not like we have a lot of cards to deal with.
Right, right.
I like that aspect. I like that every time you're going to kind of end up with a random grouping of cards, and keeps it fresh, keeps it different every time you play.
Yeah. Well, it's cool that you can start like building your own decks to make your own build. Like if you want to go shotguns specifically, you could do like your shotgun build. One thing I did learn that I didn't know before this week was placement of your cards in your deck matters. So if you want things,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so like if you want specific cards, like for most occasions, put them at the top of your deck, because like that's the order that it goes through.
That is good to know.
Yes. Like when I think about a deck, I think that you're shuffling that deck and you're getting random ass cards out. So
I just want to point out that I think it's hilarious that we're talking about Back 4 Blood. And the first thing that John comments on is the card deck building
aspect.
I mean, it is the defining feature of that game. Like otherwise, it is.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I played a couple of rounds and I don't even know what you're talking about.
Oh sure.
What?
So, Yeah. Did I miss cards? Where were these cards?
They're everywhere.
They're everywhere.
What
do they have about Back 4 Blood, the Left 4 Dead like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's cards that give you like modifiers.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to play
everyone could see the look on his face right now.
Yeah.
I have no idea what you guys are talking about. To be fair, it's not a game that I'm going to be playing any of. I wanted to try it out just to see how it was. It's on Game Pass, so it was like no harm, no foul.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, speaking of Game Pass, I thought I was going to be purchasing Game Pass in order to play this game. Turns out I've been paying for Game Pass for who knows how long, but not playing any games on it.
Well, there you go.
Boy, well, now you got a lot of making up to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got to get X hundreds of dollars worth of gaming in the next week just to settle.
Hey, there's more. There's more than just that on there. You can play Halo. You can play Halo 5. You could play Halo 3. You could play ODST.
Wow.
I'm just going through. You can play Halo Wars. That's it. That's all I've got.
All the things.
Outriders, I think, is on
Halo
there.
Spartan Assault. Isn't that a game?
Yeah.
Outriders is on there. That game crashed on me several times when I tried to play it. But no, Game Pass is
the game
great.
I want to play then.
I'm glad that you now know that you have it, and I'm sad that you didn't know for the longest time that you had it.
Yeah. Hey, I'm sorry.
So,
oops.
But, New World and Back 4 Blood. Anything else?
No, that's kind of it.
And then riding your bicycle.
And riding my bicycle.
Up super
or
steep
bicycles.
Hills. Super steep sandy hills.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, I think since we last recorded, I finally finished Persona 4.
Oh, right.
I got the ending that wasn't the worst ending, but it was still not a good ending. There's a certain, at the very end of that game, you've got to answer a series of questions in the right way in order to get a good ending. And I thought I did pretty good, but I missed one. So I got a pretty abbreviated scene that happened. I won't go into spoilers and stuff because there's a lot of story stuff that happened, but I just ended up watching a bunch of the YouTube. I ended up watching the other endings on YouTube and was just like, that's good enough.
Was your chat helping you answer these questions, or did they just like, you're on your own?
I had to do the old no backseating. I had to make sure that people, because there was a lot of that happening during that game. There's a lot of people love Persona.
They wanted you to have a better ending.
Well, but the other thing is so Persona 4 Golden, much like Persona 5 Royal, they have their kind of main content, and then there's the additional content. For Persona 5 Royal, it's the royal stuff, and in Golden, it's the golden stuff. That stuff actually means stuff in terms of what's included, like what else is included in the game. And I did the royal stuff in Persona 5, and I was happy I did it. But I did not have as much fun playing through Persona 4, and I decided pretty early on that I did not need to experience the golden stuff. I didn't need to elongate that game anymore.
Right. I mean, do you have the option to go back and do the golden stuff then? Or
I mean, I have saves and stuff that I could reload. I know what I would need to do, but it would take a lot of work. I'd have to go back. Actually, no, I probably couldn't. Because my farthest possible save might still not be enough time for me to satisfy the requirements to unlock the golden
That's
stuff.
really weird. Like, you put like expansion stuff in the game, but you need to do specific things to even get to it in like how many hours did you put in?
I think it ended Persona 4. Persona 5 was 180 with the royal content. Persona 4, I think I wrapped up at about 70, and I was beelining it.
I mean, that is 2 weeks of full-time work.
Yeah, but that's one of the things that series, like, it is so involved. There's so many things going on, but it is so easy to completely miss super huge chunks of it. Like, I mean, I missed an entire sequence where I could like say bye to all the characters that I had gotten to know. I finished that game. I didn't even find the right person. It's a murder mystery. I didn't even find out who the murderer was.
Yeah.
Like, when it was all said and done, I watched these endings, and one of the endings, like, just randomly, because it was an ending sequence, so like it was an ending that they showed, assuming you played the golden content. I assume, and they just casually said, "Huh, I can't believe he's the one who did this," and I'm just like, "What?" What are you talking about? So like the game ended, and I was just like, I could have lived my life and not known who the actual culprit was at the end of that game after 70 some hours. So again, I love that series. I think it's super cool. I think it's stylistic. It's one of the most stylistic games out there. Series is out there. I'm looking forward to Persona 6, but there are things like that I just I can't say that those things are good.
Yeah. Are you gonna play the sequel
to
Persona 4?
Are you asking about the dancing game?
No, I'm asking you about the fighting game.
No, I'm not.
Persona 4 Arena. It is the canonical sequel to Persona 4.
He seemed slightly intrigued when he thought it was a dancing game.
No, they have Persona 4. Is it Persona 4 Dancing All Night?
Dancing All Night, yeah.
Yeah, so they have that as well. I will probably watch the anime though, for all of the Personas, because I'm not going to go back any further than 4, and I'm not going to play 1, 2, or 3. I know 3 is pretty well celebrated as well, but I can't see myself going back another.
Are you interested in Shin Megami Tensei 5?
I'm a little interested.
Okay.
I'm more interested after seeing the last trailer. I'm also a little bit interested in that new game that just got announced months ago called Monarch. Yeah.
That's from old Persona people. Yeah. So, it's a Persona. It's a Persona.
Yeah, those kind of games will interest me, I think, forever now. Having not played Shin Megami Tensei, I have to. I mean, but knowing that Persona is essentially a spin-off of it, it's. I'm looking forward to getting into that. I might also try Nocturne because that came out, the HD remaster on Switch or something.
You should probably play 5.
I think I will. I was kicking myself a little bit for playing 5 before 4 in the Persona. Sphere,
I mean, it's going to be the same concept here. Like 3 is very much a PS2 game, and like almost a predecessor to the Persona 3, Persona 4, Persona 5 style of gameplay.
Yeah.
The other Shin Megami Tensei games are first person dungeon crawlers and like very, very different. But 3 and 5 are two peas in a pod when it comes to that series. Like 3D dungeon crawling and like having your party of monsters and stuff.
So that's I don't know. I'm glad I was done with it, because I was starting to lose steam on it, but it does not dampen my excitement for when they announce Persona 6. And like I said, I will probably jump into Shin Megami Tensei 5 when that comes out. Other than that, I'm near the end of Earthbound. We might be finishing Earthbound tomorrow or Tuesday.
You think so?
I think so. I don't know. I'm near the end. You're gonna know that game better than I am.
I don't know. Where are you at?
I just finished up the Stonehenge.
Okay.
Cave. So
have you done the part where Ness is by himself?
No. Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm beyond that. I am in. Okay. I'm in that. It was really a really jarring area where. I was like 3 pixels tall, and the camera's super zoomed out.
Yeah, like the underground stuff. I'm there.
Yeah, that was.
All right, you're getting closer. Yeah,
dinosaurs.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, those dinosaurs are huge. So some big boys.
Last week, I played and finished in one stream a game called Detention. It's a Taiwanese horror game, side-scrolling. I really, really liked it. And coincidentally, I also played it on what happened to be the US theater date for the movie that they made based on the game. So there was a movie released for this game back in I think 2019. And I just happened to pick it up that day, and on that day it was also the same day that it was releasing in US theaters. So
spooky.
I'm interested in seeing that movie because I think the story is by far the strongest part of that game. It wasn't so much it wasn't a super scary game. I thought the art and the atmosphere is really good. It felt kind of like a 2D side-scrolling Silent Hill game. and I think it did a really good job. But I thought the story was really cool. It has to do with let me make sure I have this right. It has to do with the Taiwanese Civil War that occurred.
That kind of detention.
And there's no, it definitely takes place in a school.
Okay, well, okay, that kind of detention.
Yeah, but it takes place in I don't think it's an alternate history. I think I don't know enough about Taiwanese history, I guess, but it just had a lot of story threads that wrapped up pretty good. I'm interested in the greater story, and obviously somebody else was too, because they made a movie about the game. So, strong game. I would recommend it. It's like a 4-hour experience, pretty quick. So, after we finished detention, I started a Metroidvania called Time Spinner.
I thought you were gonna say Metroid.
No, nope.
Called Metroid.
I started up a Metroidvania called Metroid. No, it's a game called Time Spinner. It was a successful Kickstarter from, I don't know, 5 years ago, 2017, something like that.
I've heard good things.
Real solid game, real solid.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. I should actually probably be able to beat that. Hopefully tomorrow as well. Could be a big day for the channel.
You should.
And then offline, I've been playing some PGA 2K21, which was this month's PlayStation
PS
Plus game.
Plus, yeah, I downloaded that.
And something about that game, I've liked playing golf games in the past, like both simulation games and like Hot Shots golf, like all sorts of games. This one is the first one in a long time where I'm like, yeah, I could mess around with this. This is a good time. So
good. Golf games are great.
Yeah, I love golf.
I know someone who would really like to golf with you, Chris.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, his name's Coda. You might have heard of him. I think he saw somewhere that you got that game, and he got very excited.
Oh yeah, I'm sure we could. I'm sure we could work something out.
Chris doesn't play multiplayer games anymore, though.
That's true.
It's only single player.
I mean, I do know that about him.
No,
but maybe golf is different.
Yeah, I popped on. Let's see. I think Thursday, because Thursday I didn't stream. I was still feeling sick, and I think I booted up and I just took a look at the friends list and I was like, look who it is. There's Coda.
Well,
but I was not about talking to people on that day. So
yeah,
that is all that I've been up to.
But before we move on, I just want to point out that this week is the release of a remaster of a game that we've covered before on this show. Speaking of spooky games, there's a updated version of Corpse Party releasing on the 20th or the 21st. So go check that out. I think it has voice acting. I don't know. It's like whatever the most updated version of it is. That might be the Switch and PS4 version.
I think it's even more updated than because we covered it on the show. Yeah, and then I was like so into the research for it that I'm like, well, I'm going to play this on the channel, and I loved it. I had a good time with it. But this was I didn't even play the most updated version at that time. There was still another version.
There's like 8
too many versions
of that game. Yeah.
So the best, most updated version of that game is coming to PlayStation. When is it coming?
It's like Tuesday or Wednesday. Hold on, let me look quick. While
I would recommend that game again. If you want to know more about it, I think it's episode 9 of the podcast. Right. I only think that because I just did the TikTok for it. Nailed it. Episode 9, we covered Corpse Party. Real cool game.
Yeah, October 20th. It comes out.
Okay, there you go. So that is Tuesday. Any interest in
the date quick?
Kind of 16-bit throwback horror, also trapped in a school. Really, it's a really good experience. Episodic.
Chris has an entire playthrough of it on our YouTube channel.
I don't think we ever finished.
Excuse me. There's like one or two episodes that aren't.
Yeah, I don't think we ever finished uploading the rest of that.
There's most of a playthrough of Corpse Party.
If you want to see 91% of the game, you could just do that. But
yeah, so the new version is out on PC through Steam, Switch, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One.
There you go.
Let's go for it.
Exciting times. That's not the first time that we've covered a game and then it's gotten remastered.
I think there's a reason.
Yeah, I mean, the power and the hold we have over this industry is staggering.
We're called influencers for a reason.
That's right. So, developers, you know what to do.
Speaking.
Reach out. Let me tell you how to get a hold of us. You can head over to our Patreon at patreon.com/procedurally generated. You can definitely reach out to us there. Oh, I've got the wrong page open.
Haha.
There we go. It's still Patreon. Yep. You can also reach out to us on Twitter at PG_show. Send us any messages there. Also, that is a good spot to you should probably follow us there, because we also give you updates like, oh, hey, 2/3 of us are sick. We're not recording and releasing an episode this week.
Mm-hmm.
Those kind of useful nuggets of information are passed along there as well. You can also shoot us an email at pgshowinbox@gmail.com. You can jump into the Discord, which will be linked below. I don't think I've done a good job of promoting this enough for the amount of work that I've put into it over the last several weeks, but we have a TikTok.
We do.
Please check out our TikTok.
Chris is doing great work there.
Also linked below. It's a chance for me to write a script, throw some humor into some short little. They were about 2.5-minute TikToks when we were at if you guys recall, when we started doing this whole thing, we did 5 games, and there was even a time before that where we wanted to do 10 games a week. We learned what we can and can't.
That would be a disaster.
It would be. But we cut from 5 games down to 3 games. So we've got 2 TikToks that have gone up covering just the 3 games. Those are coming out to be about 1.5 minutes.
We should go down to 1. We should just do
one game a week.
I think like a third of a game a week.
We should also then train our children and grandchildren to take up the mantle. This could be the longest running podcast in the history of the world.
All right, if you could go get Jack right now and just sit him down.
I need you to
tell
put these
him,
headphones
eyes on Papa. We're training.
I'll give you this crayon. Don't push too hard. I need you to take notes.
Jack and I had a really good conversation while you were making coffee, John. So I think he could handle it. He's got a future here.
I mean, he's probably better than I am at this.
He's already smarter than his dad. But yes, please check out the TikTok. That would be greatly appreciated. And then you can check us all out on Twitch with our wildly different schedules. I stream full time, typically Monday through Friday, typically from 8 to 4:30. I'm just saying, mine is the easiest to communicate. John, okay, fine. Sure. What's your schedule? Why don't you let us know what your schedule is for Twitch?
Sometime between like 8 p.m. and 1 a.m. every month and a half or so. Just you could set your watch to it, like clockwork, baby.
Mm-hmm. Well, you can find me at CW719. You can find John at
John Carson Games.
There you go. And Courtney, where can everybody find you?
Well, I mean, you could find me at Mecha Sprite, but I don't have a schedule, and I got a lot of flack for John streaming. And then people came at me, Mecha, where's your stream? John was on. So thanks for that, John.
You're welcome. I mean, we both need to like push each other to stream more, I think.
Okay, we could do that. We can do that.
Yeah. I mean,
teamwork.
Only if you want to. I think this could go very well for us if we.
I think we should just like share a channel.
Games. I mean, we could.
We could just
go on
share
Chris's
a channel.
We will run it into the ground, I think.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's damage his reputation.
You and I would typically stream at night when he's not streaming. So that could all work. Mm-hmm.
We've talked briefly in the past about potentially doing like a PG Twitch channel at some point. That'd be a good little carousel, a little merry-go-round. We could potentially, I guess maybe it comes down to the viewers, the supporters, and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. See what they'd like to see. So if you guys would like to see stuff like that, let us know. Reach out. I'm sure.
What a segue.
I thought so.
It was good. Sorry to call it out. I ruined the moment.
Oh.
But no, I mean, it all comes down to what you guys have time for. Obviously, I have the freedom to do this more often than you guys get to. So if you can make any time, awesome.
I mean, I can make it happen. It's probably going to be evenings though for me, especially with work and stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But you also like to watch me fishing in New World.
Yeah. Hey, yes, actually, do that. You should do that. What are you gonna say, Chris?
I was gonna say, like, you also do have an opportunity sometimes to be live on Game Informer's channel during the day.
Right,
well.
And
so
that'll be Thursdays
there's
at
ways people
2
can
p.m. Central, which is when our online team will stream something. I haven't been on in a couple of weeks due to other work-related items, like podcast recordings or writing stuff about Saints Row. But maybe in the next couple of weeks, I'll get in on some of that fun.
There you go.
That'd be good.
Well,
wait, can I segue this quick?
Can you what?
Can I segue this real quick?
You absolutely can. I had one in mind, but yours might be better.
I mean, it worked better when we were talking about remasters and remakes like 5 minutes ago. But speaking of remasters,
Corpse Party.
Speaking of a corpse party, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was a segue you wanted to set up and then just blindly hand off to me too as well.
Yeah,
okay, gotcha.
Excellent.
Yes. So in retrospect, we should have stuck with my segue. My segue would have been: we've left Timmy waiting for this long enough. He doesn't know what this is. But
have you been teasing him?
Listen, I have not teased him anything specific. I'm thinking now, like right now, as he's listening to this, he's probably just broke out in a cold sweat because I just said that. He's uncomfortable. He doesn't know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And he's like eager, like how do you think Timmy feels at this moment?
We should just end the podcast now.
We should
just not do it.
I just want to know if is this a good thing for Timmy that we're about to do, or is this like?
I think it is. We'll let him know here. So, developed by Square Enix and Virtuous, published by Square Enix, we've got ourselves a turn-based RPG. This specific instance of the game came out in 2015. We're covering the PS4 version, but it was also released on PS3, Vita, Windows, Switch, and Xbox One. This is probably one of the more definitive games of my background. We're obviously talking about the Final Fantasy X 10-2 remaster. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe it's Timmy's favorite game of all time.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I did not know that about Timmy.
That's great.
Yeah. I think he plays through it like once a year. So there you go, Timmy. That's all we're going to say about it. Moving on to our second game.
That's it. I've never finished Final Fantasy X. And not for lack of trying. I have twice made it to Mount Gagazet, and I'd get stuck in those snowy peaks and like tough. I think there's a Seymour fight there that
there is
really just tears me down each time. So
if you really want to make some enemies, what you say next is well, I never beat Final Fantasy X. I have beaten Final Fantasy X-2 a half a dozen times.
It's a better game.
Oh, okay. Whoa. Huh? I was just like, let's just
I've played
give him a little punch in the arm,
10-2.
And you just went full blown uppercut.
No, I've played far less than 10-2. Like there's a lot of criticism that people throw at games like Final Fantasy 13 that easily could be thrown at Final Fantasy X equally.
100%.
And a lot of it is that it's tiny corridors that you're walking down, going from fight to fight, and really that's the game. At least 13 gives you an open world to run around. Eventually,
technically 10 does at some point as well,
and a better combat system.
13's. I mean, I guess that comes down to whether or not how you feel about classic turn-based versus something that's, I don't know, more automated, so to speak. I'm a big fan of 13's combat, but I also think that
me too.
Final Fantasy X's turn-based is a very good.
It is, and it really system. Like me talking smack about Final Fantasy X is really just joking. Like this game's great.
Yeah. I guess we should probably explain what we're talking about.
Sure. Yes. Final Fantasy X is a game about a jock who goes forward in time, meets a girl who then he goes on her religious journey with.
Yes.
It's Final Fantasy X.
There you go.
A classic story.
Yeah. So specifically, we had some back and forth on this. We've done compilations in the past.
Yes.
Doom. The Doom collection was one that I think of off the top of my head. I don't know if we've had another one or not, but what we
Gold Games 3 or whatever.
the V compilation. We had 20 some games on that one.
Yeah.
So as instead of diving deep into the gameplay mechanics of what these games are, I took the approach of just kind of telling a little bit of the story about what the 10.10.2 remaster is. So, John, I think you went a little bit more into the game specific aspects of it. So I think we've got all bases covered.
Sure. Yeah.
So I'll lead off with. This is obviously a compilation of Final Fantasy X and Final Fantasy X-2, telling the story of Titus. I don't care.
It's Titus. It is Titus.
No. I don't care. I said
Titus.
Square Enix is wrong.
When they came out during like a presentation in 2007 or whatever, and I heard them say Titus, my heart broke inside.
Your heart broke and you giggled.
I did. He's a Titus.
But yes, he's been thrown forward into a world he doesn't know. He gets wrapped up with the girl, Yuna, who is a summoner who is on her religious journey pilgrimage against the destructive force known as sin, which in this case is not just kind of, what's right and wrong. Sin is like a big whale monster.
Big monster.
Yeah.
Thing. Yeah.
And then that is the story of 10. 10.2 takes place 2 years after the events of 10, tells the story of what happens after 10's conclusion. Yuna is
religious girl, goes to college, hangs out with her girlfriends, goes on, she becomes a rock star.
Mm-hmm.
Of course.
And becomes a jewel thief?
Yeah, a treasure hunter is her official title. But
dresses up in a lot of costumes, gets really into cosplay.
Yeah. It's a very different game tonally. But as you heard earlier, John thinks it's the superior game. So make sure you send all your
that's right.
all your thoughts and opinions on that to the maybe don't fill the inbox.
No, I would like to say that I've only played a couple hours of 10.2, but I would like to try it again. It's been a decade or more since I've played it. But I like the idea of one of the main differences between 10 and 10.2 is 10.2 brought back the active time battle system. So your timing is a factor for all of your attacks. As opposed to 10, which is like you see like everyone on like the move list and who's going to attack at certain times. It's a more set turn-based structure, I guess, right? I'm not making that up.
10.2 versus 10?
Yeah. 10 doesn't have active time battle. So like you have a set like it shows who's next in line for attacks and whatnot. Yeah.
I honestly I can't even think of what the difference is between the combat other than dress spheres for 10.2 that I don't know the timing of how.
I just know like everyone can attack at like the exact same time in 10.2.
Yes,
like,
they can. You're right.
It's a quicker battle progression.
Yeah.
I guess. Also, you have your dress spheres, which are awesome. Which are your classes. You have jobs that you give to Riku, Yuna, and Pain, who are your main three, your only three party members. In 10.2.
It's true.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's again, I don't know if this is the time and place to go into what 10 is, what 10.2 is, the specific elements of it.
It's not.
Because in this instance, I mean, we'll assume that many of you have maybe played it. Those of you that haven't, you should play them. I was not lying when I said it's one of the more definitive games in my gaming background because even though the last time I played it, I think it moved down my list of favorite Final Fantasies. It doesn't change the fact that this was the first real 3D. It came out on the PlayStation 2 originally. I mean, this game came out at a very pivotal time for me.
This one came out of nowhere for me.
10?
Like, yeah.
Okay.
Like so this was at a time when Square was pumping out. They were just absolutely pumping out Final Fantasy games because 8 came out in 1999.
Mm-hmm.
9 came out a year after in 2000. This came out a year after that. And so I was still like messing around with 9, and my friend brought this game over to our mutual friend's house, and he's like, "Hey, Final Fantasy X's out," and I had no idea that existed.
but I haven't finished 9 yet.
Yeah, it's like, what is this? This is crazy. Everything's all 3D and beautiful, and there's
voice acted,
cool music, and great laughing, and all of that. Yeah, it just kind of it came out of nowhere for me, and it blew my mind. It was a definite jump in style, in graphics, in music, and all of those things.
Yeah. But those two games, this was also at the time, this would have been the first Final Fantasy to actually have a proper sequel.
It is, yes.
Because if you go back and if you look through just a list of Final Fantasy games, Final Fantasy IV also has a sequel, but that sequel came out after Final Fantasy X-2 did.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was the first time that we'd ever had a direct sequel to a Final Fantasy game. You can say what you want about the direction they took with the sequel. The story does continue. It's just to me, it's a very different experience.
It is.
Because where Final Fantasy X took a very mature approach to the storytelling.
It's very somber.
It is, yeah. It's got some pretty heavy stuff in it. Final Fantasy X too. While there's some tension and stuff like that, it's the way that the game is presented. It's just such a distinct tonal shift that it's hard to.
Yes.
It's just hard to put those two games together for me, even though they are direct sequels. But 10 and 10.2 are not the only things that you get in this compilation. So there's some other things included. You get some graphical upgrades and improvements and things like that, but there's some substantial things included as well, including something called the Final Fantasy X: The Eternal Calm, which it is meant to be viewed after Final Fantasy X, but before starting Final Fantasy X-2. It takes place 1 year after the events of 10, and is basically it's a cinematic cutscene that essentially sets up the events of 10-2. And I don't know if I mentioned 10-2 takes place 2 years after the events of 10. So it's meant to be dead center in between the two games. There is also an additional game called the last 10-2, The Last Mission. It's meant to be played after 10-2 and does not play the same at all. It plays more like a grid-based roguelike.
Okay.
Type of an experience.
I'm in.
A
dub car.
Grid-based
dub car.
Exactly. This has the more I think the more this is the game that adheres more to the proper definition of what a roguelike is and not what Chris wants it to be.
Yeah, this is closer to like a Sharon the Wanderer, that kind of roguelike.
Yeah.
Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. Yeah.
So that is included as well. And then there's also an additional audio drama included called Final Fantasy X Will, which takes place another 2 years after the events of 10-2. Intended to invoke a more dark tone when compared to 10-2, which, as I said before, is not a difficult path to take because there's some very tonally strange things in there. And it also reintroduces a familiar antagonist, which I have not listened to that. I've also never beaten 10-2.
No, me either.
I've tried.
We should do that. We should just play through 10 and 10-2.
Should we?
Together.
I already beat 10. You play 10 again. I beat 10 recently enough. I'll accompany you, and then we'll tackle 10.
Taking the coward's way out. I see.
Wow!
I just played it and it moved down my list. I don't want it to move any further down.
That's fair. Have you played the HD version though, Chris?
I have.
Oh, which versions of these games are in this collection? So
which
10
versions?
10 has had a couple different versions, correct? Like there's a version that made it to like originally in Japan, then came out in the US with some additional stuff.
So this will include. So this is the international version. So this is what this also gets you then is the updated sphere grid. So the sphere grid is the tool you use to level up your characters. You get AP, I think it's AP, and you navigate through this massive
skill tree
board of nodes. Yeah, and you get health from that. You get magic from that. You learn new spells from that. You get new skills.
You can break through into different classes.
Yes, you can unlock areas.
Sphere Grid's actually really good.
It is. It's super good.
It's
but
awesome.
One thing, when it was when the game was initially released, there was very little flexibility in how that worked. For the US people, like you had a clear path, you would level up, follow that path, and it's good to go. The international version allowed you to instead break through and learn kind of whatever you want. If you want Titus to be a white mage, it takes a little work to get there, but you can take that path if you want to.
Right.
It just opened up the ability to really customize the way you want to your characters. It didn't fall into an archetype quite as much.
Yeah.
I was going to say too, the other thing, I don't know if there's any differences between 10.2, whether there's an international version or not.
Yeah, there is. So they added some extra dress spheres and stuff to international versions of that game. Okay. So there's like a psychic class. There's the festivalist class, which is like their costumes look like Japanese festival outfits. And the psychic one is they're wearing like school uniforms and visors. They look very Persona, actually. And then there's the Final Fantasy X-2 last mission dress sphere, which is the freelancer, which is I think that their costumes are just the regular costumes, it looks like, or they're wearing lingerie. One of the two. I don't know.
Perfect.
You know,
sleepy time costume.
Yep. Mid 2000s.
Yep. I was going to add one other thing too, that audio drama that was included, the way that was handled, fueled the rumors about an additional sequel, Final Fantasy X-3. Now, this was a while ago.
Pretty recent, right?
Well,
like this was released.
The rumors from this happened almost as soon as this released. This released in 2015.
Okay.
And I guess actually this might have released before 2015 because this is the PS4 version. I don't know the PS3 release date for this game.
I'll take a look while you're explaining.
Yeah, check and see.
Yeah.
But they just assumed the way that was handled and the way that it left off made it very much open to yet another sequel. That is not the case. Now we'll cover something that happened recently. I have some notes about it. But before we do, I'm curious. John, you obviously have experience with this. Courtney, what's your history with Final Fantasy X? You don't have a lot of background with Final Fantasy in general, right? I think we've talked about this in the past.
Yes, in general. The PlayStation 4 that I owned that was stolen was a special edition Final Fantasy PlayStation. Does that count?
Oh, cool. Okay. That counts. I'm sorry
the PlayStation got stolen.
That I played for maybe 5 minutes.
All right. Okay.
How were those 5 minutes?
Well, I'm going to say they weren't very good because there wasn't a minute 6.
Yeah,
fair.
That's kind of the sign. I mean, that's a banging opening cutscene. You didn't even make it through the cutscene. 5 minutes is
not great.
But... Have we had a discussion about Courtney and cutscenes?
Yeah, Courtney doesn't like stories in her games.
Yeah.
I'm here to play a game. I want action. I want to be doing stuff.
I don't think anybody has a gun in this game, so I don't know if...
I don't even care if it's
Courtney
a gun. I'll take a sword.
Okay,
I'll punch people.
Plenty of swords.
Yeah,
just give her Orin. Orin's super cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yuna has guns in 10-2.
She does. Yes, she's upgraded from her staff.
Yeah, to guns.
I have used Yuna artwork as an avatar before.
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Does that get me
you have played Final Fantasy 14, and you've probably run into Final Fantasy 10 references and just not even known it. So I'm going to call you a full-fledged fan.
Yeah, that's actually very true.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So there you go. Congratulations. You've been promoted.
Yeah, I feel like I shouldn't talk too much about Final Fantasy if this is one of Timmy's favorite things, because I really don't want his wrath coming at me.
I think I've garnered all of his wrath so
all
far.
right,
in
you
this episode.
keep it over your direction.
The PlayStation 3 version came out December 26th, 2013.
Okay, that's what I thought. I thought that the 2015 was that game, because I bought it obviously for PlayStation 3. I bought it for PlayStation 4.
I feel like I have it for Switch.
I bought it for PC, so I do not have it for Switch. So if I really wanted to, I won't. But so yes, that is that's kind of what's included in the package. What you get. So the idea of the remaster,
right,
came about in what I think is kind of a unique way. The original developers and the voice cast semi-reunited while working on a game, Final Fantasy Type 0, which I super duper don't like that game.
Is it because it's a card game?
Is
it a card
okay.
Game? That's a card game.
It's not a card game, but all of the characters are named after cards. Like Ace, Queen, 2, 3.
Yeah.
That game's dumb. Nobody can convince me otherwise. I have tried so hard to like that game.
That's a 13 spinoff, right? That's a Fabula Nova Crystallis game.
It might be, but that entire like motion.
Let's get
has
into
been blown
Final
to
Fantasy 13 and all of the games that surround that.
No, let's not.
I've had some discussions about it this week.
Have you really?
Yeah, actually, someone at work was letting me know that, or we were discussing it. He wasn't letting me know, but that there were parts of Versus 13 that, when that game was canceled, which I say it wasn't canceled because it's Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah, it was just reimagined.
That the initial idea of that game is now going to be part of Kingdom Hearts, or like is part of Kingdom Hearts. It's all Tetsuya Nomura stuff, so that makes sense.
Therefore,
you can just reuse that. But if that game was in the public perception, if that was turned into Final Fantasy 15, like I don't know how you could say like that Versus 13 turned into a Kingdom Hearts thing.
Well, there's actually a lot of stuff that I just watched something. I went down a YouTube rabbit hole when I was running every morning, so I got to watch a lot of weird stuff. And one of the things that I watched was like a 2.5 hour. This is getting a little off track, but it was
hell yeah.
Especially because it has nothing to do with 10. Now that I just thought about this, basically there are parts included in 15 at the very end of its DLC run. In some of the books that came out with it and stuff like that tie directly into stuff that was shown off on like Final Fantasy 13 Versus 13 trailers, like shot for shot. It was very very strange. I don't know. It could be Kingdom Hearts. I don't know. Kingdom Hearts, I've lost the thread on entirely, so I don't know.
It's Smash Brothers. It's part of Smash Brothers now. That comes out tomorrow or tonight. I should probably play as Sora.
There you go.
Anyways, we are very far off of time.
We are. Let's circle back. Final Fantasy Type 0, original dev team and voice cast came together, and they just got to talking about how fun it would be to revisit 10. It was remastering, whatever. And that is how the conversation started. It was not an internal discussion or anything like that. Obviously, it went there eventually, but the voice cast was interested in getting back together to do stuff for it. So I'm assuming that means that they re-recorded
the Japanese voice cast or
lines.
I don't think the US voice cast was. I don't think that was touched at all.
I don't think it was either. I'm assuming. That's a good point. So the game was announced during the Tokyo Game Show in 2011. So it's at the time, though, they were working on what would it have been? Final Fantasy 13, maybe 13?
13.
Before, yeah. I can't remember
I'll check on
the sequence of when the other ones came out, but the bulk of the remastering work was done by Virtuous. So when I let off, I said this game was developed by Square Enix and Virtuous. I had no idea who Virtuous was. I had just always 13, assumed. By the way. It wasn't 13?
No, 13 came out in 2009, actually.
Okay.
/ 2010.
What about 13.2 or Lightning Returns? It might have been Lightning
Returns then. 13.2 was 2011, and then Lightning Returns was 2013. Okay.
Either way, the bulk of the developers were working on another game at the time, so they weren't able to get started on it right away. But yeah, the bulk of the remastering work was done by Virtuous. So I'm going to focus on Virtuous a little bit later, but this is the first time that they'd ever come up. I'd ever heard of them. Some of the hurdles that they had when they were doing the remaster were basically some of the functional aspects of how to program on a PS2 did not translate to a PS3 very well.
That's very true.
Yes. One example specifically, besides, hardware differences and things like that, one example specifically was the switch from a 4:3 perspective to a 16:9 aspect ratio.
Yeah.
They found that almost any scene involving people, that at the edges of the screen, there were just a bunch of character models floating there.
Oh.
Because they were always just off screen waiting for their cue. But because of the aspect ratio switch, it was just a bunch of people hovering on the side of the screen until their cues came. So they had to go through and manually change all that stuff around. So I mean, I think remasters as a whole get a lot of crap from people because they just did the bare minimum to make this thing work. Yeah, it does require some effort. Yes, you're not building a game from the ground up. I get it, but there's a lot of work that does go into these things to make sure that they work.
But also, programming for the PlayStation 3, like you said, hardware aside, the hardware for the PlayStation 3 is notoriously tough to develop for. The cell processor is a beast compared to anything else that had come before it or what else was on Xbox 360 or the Wii at that point. That they're smart to have started using more
kind of universally,
I guess more popular hardware, like processors and stuff.
So while this is not included in the collection, there's a little bit more to the overall story. A novel was written by Kazuhige Nojima that bridged the gap between the last mission and Final Fantasy Will, called Final Fantasy X 2.5, I no Daisho. Now I tried to translate that and it didn't work. I just said I no Daisho in English as well, so I don't know what that means. And then so you'd mentioned it just briefly a little bit ago, John, but as recent as July of this year, Nomura stated that the story for a potential sequel has already been written.
That's right.
For Final Fantasy X. So technically Final Fantasy X-3 exists. That story does. Not the game. Nothing's been developed. Nothing there.
They are not working on that currently.
Exactly. But the person who wrote the story for 10.3 is the same person who wrote that book, Kazuhige Nojima. So somebody who's obviously very familiar with the
he's worked on material. Final Fantasy 7.
Yes.
He's been around the Final Fantasies for quite a while.
Absolutely. In terms of timeline for when that may come out, Motomu Toriyama stated that we're not in a phase where we can talk about it. And we probably won't be in that phase until we finished producing Final Fantasy VII Remake, which that game in its entirety will not be out for a super long time. So don't get too excited, but do get excited because there's talks that something could happen a decade from now.
Right. I mean, it depends on and who they. I mean, the main players are all tied up in the 7 remake.
Yeah. Exactly.
All the new blood, like Yoshi P and the Final Fantasy 14 crew that's working on Final Fantasy 16 is also just working on 16 right now. So
exactly. And then I don't know what I know. Koei Tecmo is working on Stranger in Paradise. I don't know if there's any Square resources being used for that. I'm assuming.
I mean, it's
something.
It is. Why am I blanking on his name now? Who's the main dude from this? Who does the character art?
Oh my god, who?
Yeah, why are we all just collectively blanking on like Tetsuya Nomura's name? It's Tetsuya Nomura. Nomura's doing stuff with Stranger of Paradise, and I think Nojima is as well.
Okay, you said character art, and
he has done all the character designs for 10 2. That was Nomura's whole thing in this game.
Okay.
So,
well, that's all I really have on the.
This episode's a mess, by the way.
We are all over.
This is great.
Yeah. Now I have some stuff on Virtuous.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else on the game?
About Virtuous? I have a lot on the game.
You have a lot on the game. Yeah.
But
if you guys have not played these games, go play these games.
Go play them. See if you can get further than me on Mount Gagazet against Seymour. That bastard.
There you go.
He's a jerk.
And see if you can get further than me in 10-2, which is just past the opening credits.
These are some good challenges.
I've made it further than that. Oh god, that game is so cringe off the start. Anywho's, so Virtuous, game, a studio that I'd never heard of and was super confused as to why they were being credited on this game.
Yeah.
Well, they're being credited because they did most of the work on the remaster.
That would do it.
So they're based in Shanghai. They specialize as an outsourcing company specializing in 3D art, development, and QA. I'm curious I won't be able to know this for sure, but I'm curious if any of our listeners, as I'm saying this, are like, why does Virtuous sound familiar, especially recently? I'm going to tell you why in just a second. But some of their I didn't realize just how much stuff they've done. Like, this is not a one-off thing. They didn't just go to Virtuous out of nowhere. Like, their game development credits included The Outer Worlds, Dark Souls Remastered, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, Batman Return to Arkham, the NBA 2K series. They've done art for Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, Horizon Zero Dawn, Demon Souls Remake, Last of Us Part 2, the Avengers movies, Forza Horizon 4. Like, these are banging titles. Why did you know?
And there's still more on this list. Like, you could go on for like another 10 minutes on this list. It's ridiculous.
It's like they have some sort of hand in every game that comes out. I'd never heard of Virtuous, John. Have you heard of them prior to this? Courtney, have you heard of them prior to this?
I think I've seen like their logo pop up and things, but I've never they're not ever like a main developer on anything. They're more support.
Right. So, but then I found but I guess I don't know what.
But like looking at like how big their business is, they have 2,500 employees. They have 13 offices.
Yeah.
As of this year, I mean they have multiple subsidiaries. Like they are prolific in the game industry.
Absolutely. Returnal, Far Cry New Dawn, Assassin's Creed Valhalla are other games that I have listed here as well. When you get that big though, things are going to happen. And I thought it funny that this also happened to be the first time running into Virtuous that a rumor came out. Well, at this time, I guess this was last week now, so this is old news. Sorry. But there was a rumored Metal Gear Solid 3 remake.
That's right.
That was happening, and it was confirmed by a Virtuous employee. And I just thought it was weird that the first time I heard about Virtuous was while researching for the show this week, and I also found out that they're also leaking Metal Gear Solid Remake, which completely makes sense. That sounds like something they would work
Supposedly, they are making a Metal Gear Solid Remake.
So, so I wanted to talk about this because we focused on the big developers. We focused on the not, I shouldn't even say big developers. These are
the core
big developers.
Yeah.
Yes. These are
developers.
They essentially function as like a secondary developer resource, an art house, so to speak. But they are a significantly large business and have a lot of pull in this industry. So I felt like we have to talk about Virtuous.
Yeah.
So, anything else you guys would like to talk about with this game? Games? I like
games
and audio dramas and cutscenes and roguelike.
I wish I could get into Final Fantasy more. I really, really do.
You can do it.
Let me show you Dirge of Cerberus. It is an action game starring a vampire who shoots things.
No, listen, don't do that. Don't do that.
Have you heard of the Battle Royale that's coming out?
Oh my god.
Final Fantasy VII, The First Soldier.
You can play it on your mobile phone.
You can play it on your computer.
Is it coming out for PC?
I mean, there are apps that you can have on your computer.
All right. Well, technically, you can play anything.
Technically, you play it on your PC.
So, all right. Well, that'll be the goal. If we're gonna play Final Fantasy X too, then we need Mecha to play a Final Fantasy.
The First Soldier.
Something.
Sure.
No, not that. I wouldn't wish that. No, I mean, I shouldn't say I won't wish that. I've never played it.
She plays a Final Fantasy game. She plays 14.
She does play 14. Did play 14.
I played the online one, and it was a little begrudgingly, and I did crack out on it for a little while.
You did. It was a good couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That new expansion.
I think I'd ultimately still rather be playing Warcraft than that game, though.
Oh, boo! We should take our break.
Yeah.
I need to go process that.
I need to go play Final Fantasy.
I need to go walk it off. All right. We'll see you guys in just a little bit. Welcome back. That was a quick one. Quick break.
It was.
We had a long opening.
Yeah, we gotta tighten this up.
Yep. I went upstairs. Jack was already asleep.
Games.
I was like,
oh no, I'm sorry.
I know. Well, listen, kid's got to sleep.
Does he?
Yeah, he does. He does. He didn't nap today. We're still figuring out how to navigate those waters.
As he gets older.
Are we not napping?
When does he nap? When does he not?
Yeah. He's this 2 days in a row on a weekend where he hasn't napped, and we're like, I guess you're ready to not nap. I don't know.
Yeah, he's gonna be just out tonight, probably. Then.
Yeah, so
good.
It's all right. Listen, you figure it out as you go.
You need to be sneaky about it, I think, Chris. Sneaky like our next game.
Yeah, I think you're right. Well done. I guess I'll give it to you.
I don't know what it means to be sneaky about it. I'm not a parent. Don't ask me these things. Let's move on to our second game this week.
Yes.
This is a game that came out on DOS in 1992. Developed by Apogee Software Limited and also published by Apogee Software Limited. This is Secret Agent. Secret Agent is a side-scrolling platform game where your objective is to complete a series of 15 levels to then complete a 16th level, which is like the end of the chapter. The game plays out in 3 different chapters. You are a secret agent, as the name implies, but you are playing through little puzzle platform areas, picking up keys to get into different doors. You have a gun to shoot enemies that stand in your way, and you're trying to get in and get out of these levels by blowing up your exit. I guess. Your goal in each level is to destroy like a satellite dish, and then pick up some dynamite so you can blow your way out of there. I feel like there's a better way I could have said that, but we're keeping it in.
That's right. He's about the least secretive secret agent I've come across in my time.
You play as 006.5, which it's not a good joke.
I think it's perfect.
It's okay. It's okay. But you work for an organization called the Bureau. You're fighting against something called the DVS, which is the Diabolical Villain Society. And like I said, you were playing this over the course of 3 different chapters. Each chapter has 15 levels and then a final main fortress level. You can play the levels in any order, but you have to complete those 15 levels before you can take on that final challenge for that mission. Those missions are, the first one's called The Hunt for Red Rock Rover. Mission 2 is Kill Again Island.
Wait,
it's like Gilligan's Island.
That's Gilligan Island, yeah.
And then mission number 3 is Dr. Nobody, who is the final villain in the Diabolical Villain Society.
And I'm not even gonna badum-tiss that, because that's just it's Dr. No.
It's just Dr. No.
That's just
added body to it.
They didn't even.
This is why Agent 006.5 is great. It all fits.
It's true. It's true. It is. It is just a step below the greatness of 007 of James Bond. Yeah. So everything is kind of an 8-bit art style. It is very much a product of its time. It looks like a PC platformer from that time.
Yeah.
I feel like that doesn't convey much over the great form of audio. But if you know what I'm talking about, if you've seen a platformer from that was made for DOS around 1992, you know exactly what that looks like. It doesn't look like Mario necessarily. Doesn't play like Mario necessarily.
Yeah, the pickles. The pickles. Love pickles. The pixels, to me, they just feel like in that day and age they had just a little bit more of a chunky quality.
Yeah, they are very square.
And yeah, everything just looks a little bit more rough.
To continue on with what you can do in this game, you do have a gun. So there are bullets that you can gather to take out, like I was saying before, your enemies, which are, there's robots, there's different guards. I've seen guards where if you shoot them multiple times, they cycle through different guard types.
Yes, thank you. We need to talk about this because I don't understand what's happening.
It's weird because they turn from like a dude who looks like he's guarding a science facility to a ninja with nunchucks to like a dude with a spear, like a knight.
Yeah,
it's very odd.
Did you have a chance to play it at all?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so it's on the software library, so if you guys want to check it out, it's there.
It is also a new release this year,
yes,
on Steam with an HD version. So
very strange thing as well. Yeah, it's was remastered and re-released in June of this year.
Yeah.
So if you really want to, I did not play that version. I played the software library version. But yeah, I shot these bad guys and they just kept turning into different characters.
I was watching footage. I'm like, what
are these bullets?
Is this like a hacked?
It was
somebody hacked
very
this.
Strange.
Yeah, Chris, is there anything you want to say about the gameplay in this game?
Well, yeah. Well, there's one thing about this. So we covered the missions, and I don't know why it didn't dawn on me prior to right now, but I guess I was thinking of Secret Agent. So Secret Agent actually is a trilogy, and I guess in my head I was thinking that the Hunt for Red Rock Rover was the first part of this trilogy, and therefore the game that we were covering. It just dawned on me that that's not true. This is the entirety of what we're doing. But
right, also, it is like three episodes. Like that was a weird thing in the early DOS. I guess not really early DOS days. This is kind of late DOS days, but sometimes games just came in like different chapters. So you'd get like a floppy disk with something on it that'd be like the first chapter of the game, and then you would get another chapter later on.
Yeah, well, and we'll talk about it a little bit because I'm going to focus in on Apogee Software when we get to the developments. But this game, there's apparently a term that's used in the industry, especially back in early PC days, called Apogee marketing. And I kept seeing this term pop up, and I was like, what does that mean? So this is the perfect example of what Apogee marketing is. Mission 1, the Hunt for Red Rock Rover, was freeware, available to whoever wanted to play it. Now, if you wanted to play Mission 2 or Mission 3, that was not freeware. You had to buy that from the developer's website. Yeah. So they had a habit of doing that with almost every game that they released, where they would release a shareware version. You could play it, download it, whatever. If you wanted to play anything else from that game or that series or that franchise, you had to buy it. So that was what's called Apogee marketing. prevalent in the early PC days.
Yes.
Now, I again viewed this as Secret Agent being Mission 1 with Mission 2. They're all one cohesive package in the end. They're just marketed and sold differently.
Right. In fact, microtransactions.
Yeah.
And like DLC before we know what it is today.
Yeah, and it just has such a strange, I want to say development history, but that's almost not right because the post-release history is so fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
This game received a patch in 2005. The original version of this game received a patch in 2005, 14 years after the initial release.
Yeah.
So there were still, I got to think that that's probably one of the longest, patches for a released game that I think I've ever heard of. There may be like MMORPGs or something that have been around for a long time.
I guess,
maybe like an EverQuest. I don't know, but that seemed very strange, especially for a game like this.
EverQuest hasn't been out that long though,
hasn't it? I would have thought that it would have been. I have no idea.
Maybe at this point.
But it's just weird, like this PC side-scrolling game just got a patch out of the blue. So
yeah,
we talked about the remaster coming out. The remaster has new features.
There's music. They didn't have music in the original. It's a lot of farty jumping sounds. That's it. Maybe some sounds when you shoot. We also didn't go over like what the environments are for this game. So there are like what you would typically see as like a caricature of like a James Bond villain facility, like pools with sharks swimming in them, or like scientific labs. There's a like a pyramid stage. Like there are a variety of different environments to go through, but a lot of them look like they're science facilities or like a barracks.
Yeah. I guess I got to play the one level, and it's quite a bit of, I don't know if verticality is the right word, but it's a lot of navigating, across to the right, drop down a level, navigate to the left, drop down a level.
Right. It's all on one screen, and it's like a labyrinth.
Yeah.
Like you are. Let's say you have like 100 block by 100 block square. Like that's they're filling out like all of the platforms within that. So
yeah, tons of pickups, tons of pickups.
Yeah, you are picking up everything. You are picking up the gravestones for the characters that you kill.
Yeah,
and getting points for it. You could also collect the letters of the word spy as you go through the level, like it's a Tony Hawk thing. If you collect it in order, you get a bonus to your score. Everything's really just score based and getting out of that level based.
Yeah, but other than that, I don't have too much. The other things that came with the Steam release was a level editor, with Steam Workshop support, and a new episode with 16 never before seen missions.
Cool.
So, if you want to play a more modern version of it, it exists on Steam.
It is $8.
There you go.
Which isn't bad, I guess. If you think of inflation from 1992, I mean, that thing was probably like $2 then.
That's right.
So Apogee was the company that made this, but there were really only 3 dudes who worked on this game, and that's wow, I'm gonna really just mess up this dude's name. Is it Peter Junk?
Oh, that's I think I didn't write his name down for the specific purpose that I didn't want to try to pronounce it.
Gotcha. I think it's Junk. It's JUNGCK.
Yeah, there's letters there that don't belong. I don't
know. He programmed it. Game artwork was done by George Broussard, who is a very memorable name in the game industry. He's been around for a long, long time. And then the screen artwork was made by James Norwood. George Broussard was, I believe, a co-founder of Apogee. Is that correct, Chris?
It was. I have 2 names. Neither of them are Broussard.
Okay.
I have Scott Miller.
Yes.
who was the original founder.
Oh, sorry, he partnered with Scott Miller.
Did he? Okay, because I have another guy listed as Terry Nagy.
Yeah. I believe we've covered Apogee in the past, haven't we?
I don't think so, because this was I was blown away as I was researching them. Unless like maybe I focused on a specific developer and not the company, because this company is significant that I and I had no idea.
Yes.
So I did a little bit.
If you want to go ahead with the stuff that you researched about Apogee, then.
So founded by Scott Miller in 1987. Pioneered a movement in shareware market of releasing shareware game, then releasing related releases, which I talked about a little bit earlier. Now, I use this game as a reference, but there's some more well-known games that utilize this as well. Duke Nukem is one of them. Commander Keen and Wolfenstein 3D.
Yes.
Those are big names. One of those is a game that's still being worked on and released to this day.
Duke Nukem?
What's that?
Duke Nukem?
No, I hope not. I hope they're done with that. Please be done with Duke Nukem. But in 1994, Apogee creates a division called 3D Realms. So 3D Realms is a part of Apogee. I had no idea.
Yeah, they wanted to make like a brand for each genre of game that they were making.
So
3D Realms, the first person shooter was
exclusively in the
3D
3D action game genre. So also in 1994, with the release of Rise of the Triad, which initially was supposed to be a sequel to Wolfenstein 3D, the game included a feature that I didn't spend hours and hours and hours researching this, but it was referenced to say that it was the first time that a parental lockout feature was included in a game. So ahead of the curve, so to speak. I can't say with absolute 100% certainty that this was the first instance of a parental feature being available in a game. But if it was, then they can consider themselves pioneers in that regard. In 1996, a very distinct pivot point occurs with the company. Apogee adopts the name 3D Realms, and they continue to conduct business as such. They come out with Prey, Duke Nukem Forever, which are games we'll cover.
Did they?
some other time, maybe?
Sure.
And to this day, that company still exists as part of the Embracer Group, which they were picked up by. They were picked up in August of just this year, so a couple months ago. Now, Apogee, the name, in 2008 was sold to Terry Nagy, along with the rights to several games, and that announcement was made at an E3 2008. Terry Nagy was also one of the pioneers of Apogee in the very beginning, so he had been around, a friend of Scott Miller's this whole time. Company continued to release games in the Duke Nukem franchise, Rise of the Triad franchise, and Crystal Caves. In August of 2021, the company became Apogee Entertainment, and they actually brought Scott Miller, the original founder, back on. So Scott Miller's career has come full circle, starting the company, staying with the company as it iterated upon itself, and then ended up coming back to it as with a new name. And now their current focus is indie game publishing. But I thought that pivot point was also important because Apogee now does exist. Obviously, they put out Secret Agent on Steam. That was an Apogee Entertainment joint. That was not have anything to do with the original Apogee that now exists as 3D Realms, which now exists as part of the Embracer Group.
As part of Saber Interactive.
Exactly. Yes. So
everything is owned by Embracer now.
Yeah, it definitely feels that way. So interesting backstory. This game, Secret Agent, this developer, Apogee Software, pretty important to the industry overall. And these games are still happening. Obviously, Wolfenstein games are still being created. I think I didn't write this down, but I think id Software got its roots in here as well. Somewhere along the line, something branched off, something happened.
That wouldn't surprise me.
So
They for sure did some Apogee marketing with Doom.
Exactly, right. But that's about all I've got for Secret Agent.
Yeah, same here. I thought I had more for George Broussard's stuff. Like his main career path was like following Duke Nukem and all the 3D Realms stuff. So nothing too surprising there, especially given what Apogee's bread and butter became after a while, and like forming 3D Realms and then becoming 3D Realms and then following that tree forward. So yeah, that's really all I have in Secret Agent. Seems like a neat little platformer to kind of mess around with for an afternoon or so.
Yeah. I'm more interested in playing the Steam version because once again, software library, awesome resource.
Not great.
Impossible to control anything you're doing.
That's true. That's true. Getting some like controller support in there.
Yeah.
And some music.
Yeah. I can only listen to the Atari style bop, bop, bop.
Bleep, bleep. That's how jumps sound. It's bleep, bleep.
That's not it. All right, should we move on to our third game?
Sure.
Courtney's like, I want to be done.
Courtney, how's it going over there?
It's great.
Excellent.
All right, our third game, developed by Vanillaware, which I was very excited to find out about. Published by Marvelous Entertainment. We have a 2D side-scroller released in 2009. We're talking about the WiiU version, but it was also released on the PlayStation Vita and the Wii, which actually the WiiU version might just be the Wii version, huh?
I think it was like remastered.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Probably something I should have found out during my research.
Hey.
We're talking about Muramasa, the Demon Blade.
Yeah. This game looks really nice, by the way.
This is the only, prior to this research, this is why I love the show. This is the only game from Vanillaware that I'd never heard of.
That's weird. I was very excited about this game when it was coming out.
Okay.
Also, I think part of it was, I think I saw this when I was at E3, like my first year. I'm like, oh, it's the Odin Sphere people doing another action game. That's awesome. And so I was very excited to see that it was like a Wii exclusive when it was releasing, which is very different from the PlayStation hardware that they had worked on before, and I guess the Dreamcast hardware that they worked on before that. They were hopping consoles pretty quickly. Yeah, so
Muramasa, the Demon Blade, it's a 2D side-scrolling game with some light RPG elements. Focuses on two protagonists, Kisuke, a young male ninja who has lost his memory, and Momohime, a princess that fights demon possession against a spirit named Jinkuro, who has stolen her body to fight his own personal war. You will traverse the countryside, caves, villages, forests to complete their quests, level up, and collect swords. There are 108 swords in total.
It's a lot of swords.
You can utilize 3 swords at a time. Continue to use strong enemy. You continue to use them to break enemy attacks and defenses.
Swords all have their own stats and whatnot. So
yeah,
having different swords is a good thing.
And they need time to recover after battles. It sounds like they have each sword has a certain amount of stamina.
Yeah, so there's like a soul meter for each one, and as you use them or as you defend with them, it'll wear those swords down. They can break, but if they are broken, you could still use them. Their effectiveness is just lessened. But you have to like gather more soul power to build them back up to a working condition.
Okay. So have you had a chance to play this?
I've played some of this in the past.
Okay.
Like back on the Wii. I haven't played like a ton of it though, but it's a pretty fast-paced side-scrolling action game with very pretty art, which is kind of what Vanillaware did back in the day. Now they kind of do visual novel RPGs.
But I still think you can identify Vanillaware by the art style they choose, even if the art is different.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's one of those things. It's something about the way that their art direction takes that, like, some other. Well, we'll talk about Vanillaware, I guess. But
yeah, it's very painterly, very detailed.
Yeah.
Lots of stuff going on in the backgrounds. Very colorful. They are using kind of sprite-like characters.
Mm-hmm.
So like flat 2D characters, but very. Just going to keep on saying detailed, I guess.
Well, they're almost like overly animated. Almost, they have like an aesthetic that just like they're always kind of moving in some.
They almost look like 2D puppets too. Like, yeah, they just have a very cool art style.
They do. Do you know another reason why this game is significant, John?
Why?
Because it is yet another of the top 1001 video games. You must play before you die.
I should have guessed by now.
You should. Wow. I'm surprised.
I mean, there's still like at least 995 that we haven't heard. So.
I know, right? Does
it give a reasoning for all of these games, or is this just like a list and it's on it?
This is a published book.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, it's on. If you go to Amazon and type in top 1001 games to play before you die, it's a book that somebody wrote. And it's apparently important enough to keep getting mentioned on movie games.
But Courtney was asking, does it say why for each game?
Oh, I don't know. I don't have the book. I kind of want to get the book. I feel like I feel like
you should have the book.
You should probably have the book.
But the book is also outdated now because it was probably I don't know. You should see if you can look up the publication.
I mean, 1,000 games is enough. I mean, you probably don't need to add any more to it.
No. There's nothing new coming out you'd want to add.
What are you going to push off?
Pac-Man.
Fortnite. Final Fantasy X. Push it out.
Yeah, that's fine.
Wait, was Final Fantasy X not part of this book?
I don't know. I didn't cover Final Fantasy X. I covered Final Fantasy X 10-2 HD Remaster.
You're right. Pardon my ignorance there.
Mm-hmm. Don't let it happen again. In 2009, it was awarded some awards, which is what you get when you get awarded stuff.
Hey, that's a award.
GameStop awarded the game with the best graphics. That works.
Did not.
But it did say in parentheses artistic standpoint. So I don't know if there's like artistic best graphics or just like more realistic, depending on the art style.
There's probably. Do you say GameSpot or GameStop?
I said GameSpot.
Okay.
I might have said GameStop. I meant to say
Yeah, that's
GameSpot.
why I was confused. I'm like, GameStop gives awards? We do.
GameSpy awarded the Prettiest Game Award, and
It's
4
very
Players gave it the Best Art Design of the Year award.
Yeah.
I also thought it was funny. It's the first time I've heard 4 Players referenced, and I realized that name is like innuendo. Hilarious.
Oh. for like 4 people who are playing a game, right?
Mm-hmm. That's what it is.
Okay, got it.
Cool. I was in my quiet office reading that, and I gave a little out loud. It was funny.
Get your mind out of the gutter.
You had to be there.
Weber.
The goal with this game was actually to create a successor to a Sega Saturn game they also made called Princess Crown.
Mm-hmm. That was a game that I had heard of like pretty early in the 2000s when I started kind of watching more game coverage stuff or like paying more attention to the industry.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people from like 1UP had always like mentioned Princess Crown and like this game that was really hard to get here and was this just brilliant game design. And then when Odin Sphere was coming out, I heard a lot more about Princess Crown, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting to see that this is the follow-up that they wanted to make as opposed to Odin Sphere.
Well, they kind of broke it up into two elements. Like they do reference that Odin Sphere did a good job of evolving on the narrative aspect of Princess Crown, whereas Muramasa was a chance to evolve on the gameplay mechanics. So it's like almost combining those two things. There you have your complete package, but they took individual elements and felt like each game iterated on those elements better than the other. So the project itself I thought this was interesting because I know Vanillaware pretty well now. I haven't played all of their games.
Have you played Dragon's Crown?
I might have played a little bit of it.
Which
Odin
is like
Sphere, I've played 13 Sentinels, Aegis Rim.
Yeah.
I've played I think that they're visually super appealing. I love looking at those games. But the gameplay loop for me tends to get old pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But they are an established company. Their games are genuinely pretty well received. I even remember Aegis Rim getting Game of the Year votes and nominations for its story and stuff, which I haven't gotten to the point where it picks up. It might just ultimately not be a game for me. I'm trying, I swear to God.
I think they invented the word cheeseburger or something that got memed a lot.
And they didn't win Game of the Year?
Yeah, I know, right? Hold on, I need to find this cheeseburger thing.
But the project was co-founded.
Priorities.
You find your cheeseburger. Project was co-founded by Marvelous, who was actually sold the project when Atlas refused to take any more projects until Odin Sphere had released. So they were working on this, but Odin Sphere wasn't out yet. So Atlas was not going to play a role in publishing it until Odin Sphere was released, which from a business perspective, probably a good move. But Atlas, the timing of this didn't quite match up with what makes sense to me. I saw this on Wikipedia. I tried to reference the article, but the article was in Japanese, which made that impossible. But
I mean, you can still read it. It's just another language, Chris.
I can, yes.
You just need to download that language.
Well, and all the other websites I look at, it asked me if I want to translate to English, and this one didn't. And I was like, when I need you the most, you're not here for me. Anyways, it says Atlas wanted to delay their game so that it wouldn't compete with the 2007 release of Persona 3. But actually, maybe that does make sense. I don't know. When was the Japanese release of this game? Do you know that, John? Ooh. I'm assuming 2009 would have been the US release.
Let me see. It just says 2009.
It does? Okay.
Yeah.
Then I don't know.
Maybe it was released in both territories at the same time.
It could have been, but I guess I wanted to understand why Atlas wanted to delay a game that they thought might compete with a game that came out 2 years earlier. I feel like that's the statute of limitation should be up by then. You could be fine to release another game.
Yeah, hold on.
But it's also Atlas.
Yeah, there's something weird about that. Yeah.
So, I don't know. Maybe that's a mistranslation or something to that effect, or maybe it never happened at all. But it suffice it to say that Vanillaware maybe didn't have the best experience working with Atlas.
April 9th, 2009 in Japan.
Okay. And when did Persona 3 release in the US?
See, that's the thing. Was it Fez? Was it Persona 3 Fez?
It just says their big release Persona 3, which makes me think it's the original iteration of the game.
Persona 3 is 2006.
Okay, so that's 3 years.
Fez was 2008.
Okay.
April 22nd, 2008. Which was their golden, if we're going to start referencing things from earlier.
Yeah.
It was their golden, their royal
version of
Persona 3.
Even then, April of 2008.
Yeah.
For a game to still come out in 2009, that should be plenty of time. So I don't know. Maybe we'll throw an asterisk on that and not we'll concede that point. The project was also pitched to Capcom, but Capcom didn't go for it. But I thought this next comment was important because in an interview with Famitsu, George Kamitani, who's the president of Vanillaware, stated that if Marvelous would not have stepped in at this time to help them push this product out, they probably would have closed their doors. So they were living a pretty tight life there for a little bit, waiting for Odin Sphere to actually come out, working on their second project, their follow-up project. Obviously, they have to keep churning these things out because that's one thing we'll get to in a second. As much as I know about Vanillaware, I've played some of their games. I would have thought they'd been a little bit more prolific in their releases. They're not.
Sure. No, they only have like 5 games.
Yeah, I have 7 games listed for them.
Yeah.
From 2005.
Oh yeah, I forgot they did Grim Grimoire.
Yeah, that was their first game, all the way up to 13 Sentinels. From the release of Grim Grimoire to 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim, there's 7 games. That doesn't even feel like enough.
Yeah.
In my mind, to sustain a company. But
unless you're doing like side stuff, like if these are,
that's true. Like, I couldn't find a list of games. I couldn't find a list of games that they might have supported.
Yeah, I think that could be it, or they just have really good financial backing.
Yeah, that could be it. I mean, their games are well received. Their games are popular.
There's only 29 people that work there, so I mean,
yeah, I guess it is feasible.
2019. So, yeah, that like back to the timing for like releases and stuff. It looks like Odin Sphere came out in 2007. Persona 4 came out in 2008 in Japan.
Okay, maybe the mistranslation then was
it could be. 4. It could have been Persona 4 that it was running up against.
Okay. Regardless, Atlas kind of put a stop sign up for them to do any more work or fund anything else until Odin Sphere was out, which prevented them from continuing work on Muramasa.
Yeah. Yeah, this game almost didn't happen.
Yeah.
It's real rough. So, it's a very
and
cool
now it's
game.
One of the top 1001 video games you must play before you die.
Well, Atlas, Chris, you got to do it.
I
gotta do it.
Would. I need to borrow your WiiU for like ever. There's a lot of things that I need to play on there.
Yeah. Before the eShop goes under.
I know.
In like a couple months.
I'll wait for them to come out with the Nintendo Online expansion for Wii and Wii U stuff. You know it's coming now.
That's the only way that you could play Virtual Console, like actually buy Virtual Console games now, is if you have the online service.
Exactly.
And then buy NES games.
I suppose they've got to have a GameCube one. We're off topic again.
I mean, they should have a GameCube one.
They should, yeah. That's another console.
We need Skies of Arcadia to be on there now that they're doing licensing with Sega.
Yep.
Let's put Skies of Arcadia on there. Let's
get like a GameCube and Dreamcast. They're going to do these tandem releases.
Yeah, get Dreamcast on there. Holy crap! Get
oh my god,
Power Stone.
Quick, call Nintendo.
Oh,
we've cracked the code.
Sonic Adventure 2, Electric Boogaloo.
What was it? Demolition Racer? That was.
They're going to release a Sega Saturn, not a Sega Saturn. They should do Sega Saturn.
They should do Sega Saturn.
Dragoon on there.
Oh my god.
You should just do it all.
Crazy Taxi.
Put them
Crazy
all
Taxi's got to be there.
Crazy Taxi better be on there.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyways, Vanillaware. That's all I've got on them.
This episode is off the rails.
It is. Anything else you have on this game, this developer, Muramasa, Vanillaware?
No, it's they have a like between like this and Odin Sphere, there's a lot of design elements that carry over. Like there's a cooking crafting system and like keeping your person full and feeding them and that adding to like gameplay elements. That's kind of weird. I think it's cool that you have like this tree of 108 different blades to keep track of. I like that collection element of it. Apparently, like the two characters don't really play very differently from each other, which I think is weird. Like, why have two characters if you're not?
Yeah, I mean, I guess there may be story conceits, but
right, of course.
Still,
but yeah, I think people should play Muramasa if they can. I hope that Muramasa gets another re-release because now it's on 2 platforms that are not actively available anymore.
True. Yeah, that's a bummer. That's why we need people to support the show so we can build this big thing to tell the developers, hey, there is a massive group of people interested in experiencing these games, seeing these games.
Specifically Muramasa.
Yes, specifically that one. But should we rank these? Should we get out of here? Should we rank these?
Sure. Yeah, let's rank them.
All right.
Then we'll thank them.
Let's do it. Courtney?
Yes.
I think it's actually Chris's turn, but Courtney,
is it my turn?
I think so.
Let's make it Chris's turn.
Let's make it. I agree.
We've made Chris talk the majority of this episode. Let's make it his turn.
He's on a roll.
Yes, I have so many words to say. Okay. Well, my number 2 is Muramasa, the Demon Blade.
Mm-hmm.
I really was surprised to find out that Vanillaware made this game, and even more surprised to find out that it's the only game that I didn't know
that it exists
Vanillaware
at all.
So, again, it may be a game that I get into it. The gameplay maybe gets a little stale for me, but I think the visuals will carry me in.
Yeah,
a good clip.
And I think like having the different stats for all those weapons and stuff might carry you quite a bit. There's a lot of combos and moves and all of that kind of stuff to kind of keep the action flowing.
Okay,
I think you'd like it.
Yeah, I would put that at number 2. It's a game that I would definitely like to try. I just wish I had a easier way to access it.
Mm-hmm.
So now we'll go Courtney.
Sure.
I'm taking Secret Agent as my number 2 because it looked cute and punny.
it is very punny.
All right.
I'm all for good puns, and just the name of the character and the different chapters. I'm for it.
That makes sense. I've been thinking back to a couple of weeks ago when we did the adventure game, Clyde the dwarf or something. Do you remember? I actually forgot the name.
Oh,
but as we were talking about
Cedric and the Revolution.
Yes.
Clyde the dwarf. I was even close.
Clyde the dwarf.
I mean,
he was a dwarf, right?
That's a whole new game.
I was thinking about as we talked about that, you were super.
Yeah, no, actually, he was.
Stuff,
You're right.
You're right. That works. Clyde the dwarf. Check it out.
All right,
John, what's your number 2?
Yeah, my number 2 is going to be Muramasa, the Demon Blade.
I feel like you two have identical lists.
It is 1,000% the same list.
Certainly trending that direction.
It is 10,000%, 2,000% the same list.
Spoiler. Now everybody's gonna be mad.
No, I mean I'm just letting people know how many times percentage this list is the same. This is a game I actually want to return to and think about occasionally because it is kind of a lost game in Vanillaware's pantheon, like small pantheon of games that they've developed. This and Princess Crown are going to be kind of the 2 hardest to get your hands on these days. I mean, Odin Sphere's been remastered and that exists on PS4. You could play Aegis Rim. You could play Dragon's Crown. Dragon Crown or Dragon's Crown?
I don't know. Oh,
I
hold on.
Look
maybe I do.
Real quick.
Dragon's Crown.
Dragon's Crown. Thank you.
Apostrophe S.
Thank you, Courtney. But yeah, this one's harder to play, but also it has like that Japanese aesthetic that I really like. Like you have a ninja, you have a samurai lady. Those are really cool. And the action's fast and fluid. It's something I wish that I gave more time to. Eventually I will. But right now it's my number 2 for games that I would want to play. Chris, number 1?
Well, my number 1, even though it fell down the list a little bit of my favorite Final Fantasy games, it's still a game that I would
Secret Agent
gladly play.
I heard Secret Agent.
Final Fantasy X 2 HD Remaster.
Would you specifically play this version, or would you play the original?
Ooh,
the original versions of the games?
Yeah.
No, I would play the HD remaster.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not that much of a purist.
Yeah. Plus, it just looks nicer, especially on modern hardware.
Yeah, and I do think that I tried playing. I beat 10 on stream. I tried playing 10-2, and I got a couple like an hour in. And I hate this so much. So I didn't play it any further. But I still look at 10-2, and I'm like, that is like a thing that it kills me that I have not beaten that game. So I'm gonna, I think, eventually force myself to do it.
I think you should give it more of a look, specifically for like the dress spheres and the combat system. I think that it's such a departure from 10 that it's interesting to look at.
That's what I need. I need to disconnect it from 10.
Yeah, just it's the same
like, character.
Yes,
so
there's the whole idol and like concert thing that they have going on. But if you look past that, even though they bash you over the head with it, Yuna's a pop star instead of a priestess like she was in the past game. I think you might find something that you like.
Yeah. I when it first came out, I know I made it pretty far into it. Because there are there's the way the game's structured with choosing your missions and traveling around the world. It's just less linear than your typical RPG, which I did appreciate those elements of it. I thought it was kind of interesting. It was just the major story bits and the way some of that story is told.
Right.
That's just so goofy. And some of those elements
show up later. There's not necessarily like, it is a sequel to 10, and you do see all of the characters from 10, but there's not necessarily payoffs for things that are hanging from 10, as far as I'm aware.
That's kind of what I heard. What I found out as I researched, even while I was researching this, this is how conflicted I am. I'm researching these games, and if I feel like I'm getting close to a 10-2 spoiler, I'm stopping. I still want to see how it goes. So I don't know. Courtney, what's your number 2? Nope, sorry.
My number 1.
What's your number 1?
What's your number 1? Is it Secret Agent?
Well, I feel like maybe I should have just put Secret Agent up there to be a pain in the ass.
I was almost sure. I was about 100% that's exactly what you were gonna do.
No, I did make Final Fantasy my number 1. I believe I still have the game, even though that PlayStation 4 was stolen. I should try to play it again. I really wish I could get into it more. Well, maybe that's a better option. Although would I have to repurchase it? Because
pretty inexpensive.
I'll look real quick while you're talking.
But also, here's the issue: if it's going to have a bunch of cutscenes and crap in it, I would rather be sitting on the couch where I can just like take a nap while that's happening.
There you go. All right, that's fair. If you don't want to sit on a PC and like check it out, that's fair.
PC for $30. But also, like if you're gonna play a mainline Final Fantasy game, you got to be there for the story. I don't think that is 3/4 of the game is the story. And like what's happening with those characters and why you're doing what you're doing.
Final Fantasy 14,
specifically
you can be forgiven, right? You can ignore the cutscenes there and stuff like that.
14, you have the social aspect.
Yeah, if you're counting on just the combat to pull you through,
I feel like I've chosen a really bad number 1. I have regrets.
I would love to see you. I would love to see you commit to a story, even if you hate it, just to get through it and see like what you think in the end.
That's what I like about these rankings, though. Too, it's something that we're doing in the moment. It's like what does kind of interest me, even if like ultimately, I'll probably never play a lot of these games, but like what is mildly interesting to me about this, and like apparently 10 and 10-2 are pulling you in that direction. For some reason.
Well, and then when you say like, and it gets me thinking, like you say, well, it's my number 1, but I'm not interested in the story. I'm over here thinking, how could you not like the story? And then I'm thinking, if there's not the story, what else is there? And now I'm second guessing everything I think, because I'm like, wait,
Now I'm thinking if there's nothing else to it other than a story, I for sure don't want to go back and try it again.
Yeah, I mean, from the moment the game kicks off to the very end, it is an all-encompassing story, which I think is very good. But
would I be correct in saying that the 5 minutes I did put into that game were probably sucked up entirely in a cutscene?
The opening 5 minutes, I mean, I would say, I guess. No, you might have navigated some crowds and walked across a bridge. A pretty straightforward experience.
And Tidus is like, "What's going on here?" And I'm gonna hit things with the sword. That's how Tidus talks.
It's amazing.
Wow, Timmy's gonna hate this.
I'm sorry, Timmy.
Timmy,
I'm really sorry.
I actually do like this game. I'm just giving it crap.
All right.
Well, you know what? A conversation to continue for another day.
Absolutely. Courtney, do you like TV shows at all? Do you watch movies or anything with narratives? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I love TV shows. I love movies. But cool. I think when I sit down to watch them, I'm watching them.
You were expecting to watch them.
It's a different mindset, right?
It's a different mindset. If I'm going to sit down and play a game, I want to play. I don't want to just sit here and stare at the screen, not doing something.
So what if you sat down to play a game with the mindset that you're sitting down to watch a movie?
Oh gosh, that hurts my head.
Would you be bugged that you were interrupted with gameplay?
I don't think I'm ever going to be upset I'm interrupted with gameplay.
All right.
So there we go. There we go. We got to just switch your whole approach.
You got to trick me apparently. I need to be tricked.
Mm-hmm. We've cracked the code. All right. We'll expect a full review of the game by next week.
All right, I'm on it.
I'm just kidding. It's like a 50-hour game. Don't do that.
Yeah.
John, what's your number one?
My number one is specifically 10-2. It's the Final Fantasy 10 and 10-2 HD remaster. It's at least one good game, and then a very intriguing sequel to me. It's one of the classics. And I would definitely really out of this list of games, it's like I own Final Fantasy X on multiple consoles. I'm gonna play that again. That is just a easy number one for this week. So there's that. And then my number 3 is, of course, Secret Agent.
Yep, Secret Agent. There's just not enough there.
Seems fine.
To be fair, there are weeks where it probably would have been higher than 3. Depending on the other games.
Yes,
these are 2 games that I have very genuine interest in, and then a game that I don't.
You were super excited for this week.
I was very excited. Final Fantasy X, 10-2 is, like I said, a defining moment in my video game playing career. It's not as significant as, say, Final Fantasy VII or even Final Fantasy VI, but it's still
big.
I still remember sitting in my old bedroom at my parents' house, firing up the PlayStation 2 and playing through that game.
Courtney, what if I told you that there was a sorceress in this game whose dress was made entirely out of belts?
I'm intrigued.
Yes. All right. That's Lulu.
I'm intrigued.
Yes. She's awesome. Lulu's great. There's a giant blue dog Catman? What is Kamari?
Tiger Man.
Maybe my mission should be to play 10-2 and beat it. So that I can be like, what have you guys done?
I'm dying if you do that and not play 10 first.
I have a new goal.
God, please, if you're going to do that, just don't play it at all.
Just I don't know. It might make 10-2 better. I suppose
you don't have a point of reference in the beginning.
Not having that emotional tie to any of the characters.
Yeah.
Oh. All right. Well, this has been a long one.
We're going to start a podcast and be like, Mecca, what did you do this week? And I'm going to say, I beat 10-2.
She's like, I'm really into Waka now.
This time next year, by the way, that we've planted the seed, she'll have beaten the entire Final Fantasy franchise.
And
this is all it took.
She's played the hell out of Blitzball.
Yep. Ugh. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Where can you find us? You can find us.
We should thank some people.
That's the last step.
That's the last
step.
hey, I'm not the host, so thank you.
That's okay, because the host forgot like 3 weeks ago. Sorry again, guys. You can find us on Discord, which you see linked down below. We talk about the show there. We talk about our individual streams there. We do some other stuff there. I don't know. It's a Discord.
My tweets pop up there, I think.
Yeah, your tweets pop up there
all the time.
My tweets pop up there. Courtney's
I don't
tweets
think
pop
mine
up there.
do.
Do they not?
Oh.
They
How much
should.
do you tweet? I mean,
Yeah.
the tweets that you do from the PG
I'll make sure
show,
that connection's still there.
Twitter.
Anyways, we'd love to have you guys be a part of the Discord, discuss the show, ask questions, point out things we got wrong. Tell Courtney why she should be playing Final Fantasy X and paying attention to the story. Also, reach out to us if you would like at our PG show inbox at gmail.com email address. On Twitter at PG_show. You can check us all out on Twitch. I am CW719. John is John Carson Games. I was gonna let you do it, and then I was like, I just went. And
Yeah,
Courtney
go
is
for it.
at
Just go
Mecha Sprite. Also check out our TikTok, PG_podcast. I've got the first 10 episodes of our Quick Talks.
That's
live.
more than a third of our show.
That is, yes, I'm catching up slowly, and when we finally do catch up, the format will change a little bit again. But for now, we've switched from 5 games to 3 games until I finally catch up. And of course, you can reach out to us on Patreon. You can support the show on Patreon. We would greatly appreciate it. We want to keep this thing growing, keep this thing rolling. So if you're not already supporting us, consider it. We would love it for as little as $3. Gets you some stuff. What do you get? Ad-free viewing at $3.
Yeah.
Listening, not viewing.
Yep. Early episodes if they go up early.
That's right.
You get a virtual high five from all of us.
You do. Yes. Make sure you get your hand up though. I don't want to like slap you in the forehead.
Also gets you into our Patreon specific channel in the Discord.
That's true. Yes, we do have a Patreon specific channel.
You can talk directly to us. Also, we're not hard to find. So
no, we're really not.
But if you would like to give monetarily to potentially upgrade our equipment, I know Chris is looking into new microphones. Eventually, we want to record in person.
Yes,
there's a lot of things that we would like to do in the future, including getting some more of these games in our hands and consoles and equipment and all that stuff. So
yeah, we have a lot of big ideas. We just need to grow this thing. So, that being said, let's thank the people that have gotten us this far. Mecha Sprite.
Oh God, don't do it.
Thank you for the support. That's all. That's all I was doing. I don't know what you thought I was gonna do.
Thanks for letting me pay to be here.
Yeah, exactly. Coda and X-Chin are $15 gold patrons.
Patrons.
Yes, patrons.
Patronus.
Cassidy, Kate, Tim, you guys are our silver patrons. Aussie, Brandon, Jason, John, and other John.
How's Aussie doing? I haven't seen him in a while.
You guys are our bronzes. He just switched over to YouTube. Actually, he is migrated fully from Twitch to YouTube.
Wow.
So best of luck to him. I will probably not catch him live as often just because I don't go to YouTube except for very specific times of my life. But I know Twitch be doing things that make me think that maybe YouTube's not such a bad idea, but we don't need to talk about
Twitch
that
be
here.
Doing
That's
weird
a
things.
topic for a different show. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. And for all the listeners, thank you guys for checking it out. Tell your friends. Word of mouth is an amazing way to help us grow this thing.
It's really all we've got.
Yes, and then
tell your friends.
My call to action, which I think I blew it in the beginning. Go ahead and leave us a 5-star review or a positive review on whatever app you're listening to this on. Whatever their review structure is, make it a good one. Unless it's bad, then give us feedback. Let us know. Let us know what we can do better. So, you guys, we're just shy of 3 hours of recording time. We got some time to cut out. Let's get out of here, huh?
It's
all right. Have a great night. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.